Only breakthrough. Please continue reading on Oxville. Omicron M. In the intense battle at the City Lord's mansion, the foreign heavens favorites had the upper hand. In the arena, Lu Ming was at a complete disadvantage. The three great demon masters and 2,500 demonic city guards set up a great formation. Beams of divine light were triggered and blasted toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming protected Xiao Yu and the other two as he retreated. At this moment, the green scales on his body were cracked in many places and blood was flowing out. Young master. Xiao Yu's eyes were filled with tears. She gritted her teeth and made a move, wanting to share some of the pressure with Lu Ming. However, although Xiao Yu's current cultivation had reached the second-tier celestial god realm, she had not cultivated many other divine powers. Her combat strength was far inferior to Lu Ming's and she could not play a critical role. Instead, she was injured by the backlash. "Xiaoyue, don't attack!" Lu Ming shouted. "Young master." Xiao Yu's eyes were filled with tears. "Huh, brat, go to hell." Wan Xing stood in the distance and laughed loudly. His eyes swept across Xiao Yu and Yu Linglong, and his gaze flickered with a scorching flame. "I didn't expect you to have two such beautiful girls by your side. How come I didn't notice them before? What a pity. But it doesn't matter. After I kill you, I'll love them well." Ha ha ha. Wan Xing laughed madly, his face full of ferocity and desire. "Wan Xing, I will definitely kill you." Lu Ming shouted coldly. "You're still daydreaming about killing me." Wan Xing ridiculed and was arrogant. He was not afraid at all. At this moment, divine light shot up into the sky from the City Lord's mansion, and a terrifying tremor came. They could see everything clearly. Not good. There's a huge battle at the City Lord's mansion. The demon master's expressions changed drastically. "Damn it, it's those foreign heavens favorites. These guys are definitely in cahoots. They're trying to split our strength." Dragon Cave shouted angrily. "What?" Lu Ming had also noticed the situation at the City Lord's residence and was rather surprised. He didn't expect that the foreign heavens favorites would attack the City Lord's mansion. It seems that the paragons from the 9 Absolute Heavenly King mansion didn't come to Demonic City just for Moyechuan. Lu Ming pondered. "Attack with all your might and kill this brat. Well, go and support the City Lord's mansion." At this moment, all evil roared. "Alright, attack with all your might and kill him. Full force." The other two demon masters also nodded and gave the order. Immediately, the 3 great demon kings and 2,500 demon city guards madly circulated their divine power and blasted out their divine power as if it was free. Then, a huge beam of light, like a huge divine sword, slashed at Lu Ming. The power of this divine sword had reached its peak. Lu Ming's pupils contracted sharply. He felt a fatal crisis. However, he, Xiao Yu, and the others were surrounded by the formation and had no way to escape. They could only fight. "Block it, I must block it," Lu Ming growled in his heart and unleashed his full power. Roar! Roar! A dragon's roar was heard, and the 7 9-clawed divine dragons rushed out first. Immediately after, 9 ice chains appeared. Boom! 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 The huge divine light formed a sword and slashed down. The 7 9-clawed divine dragons exploded one by one. Then, the 9 ice chains also exploded. However, this had more or less blocked some of the power of the combat sword. In the end, Lu Ming waved his long spear and blocked in front of him. Boom! Lu Ming's body trembled violently when the combat sword hit the long spear. He could not even stand in the air. His body, which was hundreds of meters tall, fell down to the fighting ring below. The fighting ring of the Colosseum was made of special materials and was extremely hard. Even the strong chi from the previous battle did not break the fighting ring. However, this time, Lu Ming landed heavily on the fighting ring. The fighting ring rumbled violently and cracks appeared on it. Lu Ming's body bent and he almost knelt down. "Block it!" Lu Ming roared. He used all his divine power and divine Bodhi's power to resist the attack and did not kneel down. However, the huge sword had a steady stream of power that blasted down. Lu Ming's body trembled as if he was carrying a majestic divine mountain. This kid, evil, and the others felt their hearts twitch as they gasped. They had already used their strongest move and wanted to kill Lu Ming in one move. They did not expect that Lu Ming would be able to withstand it. "Continue, kill him!" 1,000 evils roared. Then, the 3 demon masters and more than 2,500 demonic city guards circulated their divine power madly. The divine power gathered and gushed toward the combat sword, pressing down on Lu Ming. Boom! The fighting ring under Lu Ming's feet exploded with a loud bang and fragments flew everywhere. Lu Ming's body bent slightly, but he roared and resisted it. More blood flowed out of the wounds on his body. "Young master, Lu Ming." Xiao Yu, Yu Linglong, and Wu Zifeng were extremely anxious. They wanted to intervene, but with their cultivation, they couldn't do much. "I can't go on like this. If this continues, I won't be able to hold on any longer." Lu Ming's mind was racing. If this continued, the 4 of them would die here if he couldn't hold on any longer. In fact, the consequences would be worse than death. Right now, the only way is to break through. Lu Ming had an idea. Now, there were only 2 ways. One of them was to burn his ancient god heart, and the other was to break through. However, after the ancient god's heart was burned, his ancient god body would be completely destroyed. The last time, it was because of the purple copper coffin that his heart of the ancient god recovered. However, that kind of good luck couldn't be there every time. Moreover, Bone wasn't with him this time. If he took the risk to open the purple copper coffin, he wouldn't even know how he died. Therefore, Lu Ming would not use this method unless he had no other choice. The other way was to break through. For example, the battle symbol art had a breakthrough to 5 times the combat power. However, it was clear that the breakthrough of the battle character formula required comprehension and accumulation. It was not easy to break through. The only thing that could be broken through was cultivation. "Old Liang, how much energy have you refined from the star's core?" Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to the quantity formula. "I've given you all the energy I refined the last time. How much energy can I refine in such a short time?" "It's too little, not enough for you to break through." The quantity formula responded. "Then transfer the energy of the star core to me directly." Lu Ming said. "Directly transfer the energy of the star core to you?" The energy of this kind of star core is extremely violent. Even a divine king would have to spend a lot of time to refine it before they can use it. You're just a heavenly god realm expert. If I give it to you, I'm afraid you'll die from overeating. The quantity formula said. There's no other way. We can only take a gamble now. Transfer energy to me, but control it well and not transfer too much. I can hold on. Lu Ming said to the measure word art with a determined look in his eyes. You're crazy, kid. Alright, let's go all out. I'll go all out with you. Kid, get ready. The quantity formula helplessly agreed. Come on. Lu Ming said. Buzz. The measure formula went berserk. A violent wave of energy rushed into Lu Ming's body from the measure formula. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2965 Breakthrough. Please continue reading on Oxville. Omicron M. From the quantity formula, a surge of energy gushed into Lu Ming's body. This surge of energy was extremely violent. It was many times stronger than the energy from a volcanic eruption. It was hot, extremely hot. The searing energy was like a tsunami, crashing into Lu Ming's body. Pft! Pft! Lu Ming's body trembled violently. He already had some injuries on his body. After being hit by this energy, his injuries were further aggravated. Ah, get up there! Lu Ming roared loudly. He controlled the energy and directed it to flow along his arm and into the long spear. Buzz! The long spear vibrated, forming a rebound force that actually lifted the opponent's combat sword a little. Lu Ming took the opportunity to stand up straight. This kid, how can he still burst out with power? The people from the Dragon Cave were not only shocked, they were even a little frightened. Then, he activated his divine power even more crazily. This time, he had to kill Lu Ming. Otherwise, Magic City Mountain would be destroyed. Refine, refine. At this moment, Lu Ming was circulating the Universe Thousand Tao scripture with all his might, refining the energy in his body. However, the energy of the star core had not been refined by the measure formula. It was very difficult to absorb it. Compared to the energy that had been refined, it was a world of difference. However, Lu Ming could not care about that now. He kept circulating his cultivation technique to absorb this energy and use it to break through to the next realm. Not only was the speed of absorption slow, but it was also impure. Even if Lu Ming had a breakthrough in his cultivation, his foundation would be unstable. But he couldn't care about that now. If his foundation was unstable, so be it. At most, he would spend more time to polish his foundation. Boom! 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 The violent energy was rampaging in Lu Ming's body. It was unusually overbearing. If it was an ordinary third-level heavenly deity, no, not to mention third-level heavenly deity, even if it was a ninth-level heavenly deity, the divine body would probably explode from this energy. However, Lu Ming's divine body was no ordinary divine body. After he had condensed the ancient god's heart, his divine body could be tempered at any time, and he would become stronger day by day. Moreover, he had transformed into a green-armored ancient god, and his divine body was even more powerful. He was able to block the energy. It's not enough. Old Liang, release more energy. Lu Ming roared. Also, little brat, you have to act within your means. The quantity formula expressed his concern. I know, come. Lu Ming said. That brat, get ready. As soon as he finished speaking, another wave of energy rushed out. This energy was even more violent and scorching than before. At this moment, Lu Ming's body turned red. Even the green armor on his skin turned fiery red. His body was like a balloon, swelling up. The blood on the wound spurted out like it was free. Whoa, old Liang, you're spitting out too much energy. Are you trying to stuff me to death? Lu Ming screamed in pain. You were the one who asked for it. I've already reminded you, the quantity formula said. Lu Ming was helpless. He could only clench his teeth and circulate the Universe Thousand Tao scripture frantically to absorb this energy. Boom! 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 Lu Ming's body rumbled as if a volcano was constantly erupting. His cultivation level was also rising rapidly. Peak third-level celestial deity, then towards fourth-level celestial deity, it launched an assault. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming's body continued to rumble. With each rumble, Lu Ming's body trembled and more blood flowed out of his wounds. Lu Ming was bathed in blood and looked as if he would collapse at any moment. However, he managed to withstand the other party's attack. This kid is strange. Fight. Well, fight too. Die. Evil roared. He did not know why, but he had a bad feeling in his heart. He felt that if Lu Ming did not die today, he would be the one to die. His eyes were filled with ruthlessness as the Shen power in his body started to burn. All evil burned his divine power, and his strength increased dramatically. The power of the swords formed by the formation also increased. Lu Ming's body trembled and he almost failed to block it. "You two, burn your Shen power together and kill this kid." Evil looked at Dragon Cave and the other Demon Master. However, the Dragon Cave and the other Demon Master hesitated. Burning Shen power was very harmful to the body. Even if it was a normal person, burning Shen power would cause their vitality to be greatly damaged or their cultivation to fall. The half-step Divine King realm was even more special. This realm was the realm of condensing the star core. The star core was about to be condensed, but not condensed. It was the most critical moment. If he burned his divine power at this time, his cultivation would fall back to the 9th level heavenly god realm if he made a mistake. He might not even have the chance to charge towards the God King realm in the future. It wasn't easy to cultivate to this level, so they wouldn't easily burn it. This kid can't hold on for much longer. Let's hold on a little longer and we'll be the ones to win. Dragon Cave said. He refused to burn his Shen power. You guys, evildoer was helpless. He could only burn his divine power with all his might. He even threatened some of the Shanghai guards to burn their divine power to press down on Lu Ming. Soon, at this moment, Lu Ming could already sense the 4th level celestial deity barrier and was launching a violent attack. 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, after more than a dozen attacks. Boom! A deafening explosion erupted from within Lu Ming's body. The 4th level celestial deity barrier was finally broken through by Lu Ming. Lu Ming had stepped into the 4th level heavenly god realm. After stepping into the 4th level heavenly god realm, the 10 divine flames in his dantian were even more vigorous. The divine power in his body was even more turbulent. Lu Ming's abilities had also improved. Break! Lu Ming roared. A violent force flowed along his arm and rushed out. Boom! The long spear vibrated crazily. In an instant, it vibrated hundreds of millions of times. In an instant, Lu Ming swept away the opponent's combat sword. Then, he led Xiao Yu and the rest to take a step forward and avoid the opponent's attack. The battle sword formed by the opponent's formation continued to slash down after being knocked away. It hit the fighting ring and split it in half. 3 apocalyptic strikes, star explosion. Lu Ming took the opportunity to cast the strongest move of the 3 apocalyptic strikes, Star Blast. All the divine energy in his body, including the energy from the star core that had not been refined completely, flowed out through Lu Ming's arms. All of his power was transformed into his most powerful move, Star Blast. Whoosh! A shocking spear radiance soared into the sky and charged towards the formation that Evil and the others had formed. Kill! Evil and the others roared as they activated the formation. Divine power gathered and once again formed a combat sword, which was then slashed at Lu Ming. Boom! Exploding star collided with his opponent's combat sword, creating a terrifying explosion. The energy formed from the collision spread in all directions. This attack was truly like a battle between 2 god kings. The shockwave that spread in all directions crushed the corpses of the fallen experts in the Colosseum into dust. Everything within 100,000 miles was razed to the ground. This was also because Magic City had been set up with formations everywhere. Otherwise, the destructive power would have been countless times more terrifying. Explode! At this moment, Lu Ming shouted coldly. The huge spear's gleam exploded. This was the correct way to activate the star explosion move. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2966 Backing. Please continue reading on Oxville. Omicron M. Boom. The spear radiance exploded like a planet, forming a terrifying energy storm that swept towards Evil and the others. Bang! The swords formed by Evil's formation trembled violently and buzzed before exploding into countless shockwaves that were reflected back at Evil, Dragon Cave, and the others. Boom! 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 This energy was too powerful. As it rushed out, a large number of Shanghai guards didn't even have time to react before their bodies exploded and their souls scattered. At least 300 demonic city guards had died under this move, and the entire formation had been scattered. As soon as the formation was opened, the power of the three great demon kings and the demon capital guards was scattered. Lu Ming would not miss such an opportunity. Bang! He stomped on the ground and his body, which was a few hundred meters tall, shot up. The divine power that had been stored in the quantity formula surged into Lu Ming's body and was drawn out along his arms. Kill! Lu Ming let out a long howl and swept out with his spear. The huge long spear was thousands of miles long and it enveloped a large number of Shanghai guards. Bang! Bang! One by one, the Shanghai guards exploded in the air like rotten tomatoes, blood splattering everywhere. This spear attack had killed at least 500 Magic City guards. Damn it, damn it, damn it! Dragon Cave and the other two demon masters roared in their hearts, unable to remain calm. At this moment, apart from all evil, the other two demon masters were filled with regret. If they had known that Lu Ming was so terrifying, they would have listened to all evil and burned their divine power to kill Lu Ming in one fell swoop. However, it was too late to regret now. Kill! Lu Ming fixed his eyes on the three demon masters. He thrust his long spear at the demon master of the Dragon Cave, who was the closest to him. The spear light was like a shooting star, instantly approaching the demon lord of the Dragon Cave. Not good, the demon lord of the Dragon Cave was shocked. He quickly waved his hands and used his strongest move to block. However, when Lu Ming was a third-tier celestial god, his strength was already enough to suppress a half-step divine king demon master. Now that he had broken through to the fourth-tier celestial god realm, his combat strength was even more overwhelming. Boom! The spear radiance pierced through the attack of the demon lord of the Dragon Cave and continued to stab toward him. Pfft! The demon lord of the Dragon Cave was pierced by the spear light, leaving a bloody hole. The Dragon Cave's demon lord screamed as his body was sent flying. He had been severely injured. Die! Lu Ming did not give the demon lord of the Dragon Cave any chance. He stepped forward and aimed his long spear at the demon lord's head. The demon master of the Dragon Cave was already severely injured. How could he dodge? With a scream, his head was smashed by Lu Ming and he died on the spot. A demon master was killed just like that. In the surroundings, many of the demon city guards were almost scared to death. They didn't have the slightest bit of battle intent as they turned around and ran, not daring to stay in the slightest. Go, quickly go. Not to mention the demonic city guards, even Wan Yi was extremely terrified. He brought Wan Xing and fled in a frenzy. The other demon master also fled in another direction. Don't even think about leaving. With a cold shout, a sword light rushed out of the gravel below and slashed at the escaping demon master. I didn't expect that there would be such a heaven's favorite who was captured and brought to the spirit beast arena. Lu Ming's gaze flickered. The one who made a move was a young man with peak 7th level celestial deity cultivation. But his combat strength was very shocking, and he actually held back that demon master. Such strength was already not weaker than Pei Lin. Obviously, for some unknown reason, this young man had also been captured by the other party and brought to the animal arena. Magic City Mountain was really audacious. They dared to do anything. They even dared to capture such a Heaven's Pride expert. Did they rely on their backer? Lu Ming's mind was racing, but his figure chased after evil at an extremely fast speed. He had to kill Wan Xing and Wan Yi, damn it, and NBSP, die. All evil was alarmed and madly burned his divine power to fly forward. However, Lu Ming cast the 9 heavenly Kuan-Peng technique and it was as if he had transformed into a Kuan-Peng. His speed was even faster than evil's, and the distance between the two of them was rapidly closing. Whoosh! When he was within a certain distance, Lu Ming thrust his spear forward. A ray of spear light burst out and rushed towards all evil at high speed. All evil had no choice but to stop and turn around to block. Evil was burning his divine power and his combat strength was higher than usual. He blocked Lu Ming's attack but his body was also pushed back. His face turned pale and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Your Shen power should be almost burnt out. Lu Ming stepped forward and looked down on all evil and all good. Compared to Lu Ming's body that was a few hundred meters tall, all evil and Wan Xing were like ants. Father, what should we do? What do we do? Wan Xing was almost scared to death. His entire body was trembling, and his face was extremely pale. He was used to being tyrannical in the Colosseum and even in the demon capital. Not many people dared to go against him because of his evil reputation. He had always had a high and mighty appearance. When had he ever faced such a situation? At this moment, he was completely flustered and lost. Lu Ming, there's something that you probably don't know. My Magic City Mountain has a backer in the 9 Absolute Heavenly King Mansion. He's a real big shot. If you kill us, the big shot of the 9 Absolute Heavenly King Mansion won't let you off. Evil said coldly. The backer behind Magic City Mountain? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. As long as he knew who the backer behind Magic City Mountain was, it was possible to find out who the traitor of 9 Absolute Heavenly King Mansion was. Tell me, who is the backer of your Magic City Mountain? Or, which force is it? Lu Ming asked coldly. Do you want to know who our backer is? You just need to know that we have a backer behind us, a backer that you can't afford to offend. Otherwise, how could a treasure like the Demon Night Spring have survived until now? Evil sneered and threatened Lu Ming. You don't want to tell me? Then I'll search for it myself. Lu Ming was not afraid of threats. After he finished speaking, he waved his long spear and swept it towards Evil. All Evil was shocked. He did not expect that Lu Ming would not be threatened at all. He could only resist with all his might. However, he had been burning his divine power for so long and his divine power was severely depleted. He had only exchanged a few blows with Lu Ming before his divine power was completely depleted. Bang! Lu Ming's spear struck Evil's body. The lower half of Evil's body exploded, leaving only the upper half floating in the air, its aura dispirited. Then, Lu Ming stretched out his hand and grabbed at the void. A suction force was produced and Wan Xing was caught in his hand. In Lu Ming's hands, Wan Xing was like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. He could not put up any resistance and could only scream in pain. Don't kill me, father, save me. I don't want to die. Wan Xing's face was covered in snot and tears. He was so scared that he even peed himself. When he killed others, he didn't even blink. He was even very excited. When it was his turn, he was more afraid than anyone else. Don't kill him. 1,000 evils roared. Tell me who's the backer of Magic City Mountain, and I'll consider letting him go. Lu Ming said. Chapter 2967 9 Great Demon Kings, all annihilated. Please continue reading on Oxville. Omicron M. Lu Ming threatened all evil, wanting him to tell him who was the backer behind Magic City Mountain. I don't know. I don't know who's the backer behind Magic City Mountain. I only know that there's a backer behind Magic City Mountain. 1,000 evils roared. You still dare to trick me? Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. He exerted force in his palm. Wan Xing screamed in pain as his body exploded continuously. I really don't know, I really don't know. I'm going to kill you. All evil roared angrily and mustered all its remaining strength to charge at Lu Ming. I'll send you on your way. Lu Ming said coldly. He exerted force in his palm and Wan Xing exploded completely, his soul scattered. At the same time, Lu Ming cast the moon-splitting move. A crescent-shaped spear ray flashed and disappeared. When the spear's radiance disappeared, all evil disappeared as well. Lu Ming did not show any mercy to people like Wan Xing who were evil. The father and son duo had committed all sorts of evil deeds. They controlled the Colosseum and committed all sorts of crimes. In all these years, countless people had died at their hands. Lu Ming did not search all evil's soul as there was no need to. He threatened him with Wan Xing. Since the other party said that he did not know, he should really not know. With a wave of his hand, he kept the loathsome storage ring. Then, his figure flashed, and he returned to the spirit beast arena. At this moment, almost all the demonic city guards in the Colosseum had run away. Only that young man was still fighting with another demon master. Although the demon master had the upper hand, the young man was fighting with no regard for his life. He kept the demon master busy and didn't care even if he was injured. At that moment, the demon master was almost scared to death when he saw Lu Ming. Kill! Lu Ming charged over directly. With Lu Ming's participation, the demon master's fate was sealed. It did not take long for him to be killed by Lu Ming. This brother, thank you for saving me this time. The young man cupped his fists at Lu Ming, his face full of gratitude. You're welcome, it was just a passing move. Lu Ming smiled. With a wave of his hand, he kept the demon master's storage ring. You're also a heaven's favorite from the outside world, right? I'm really curious, why are there so many people here this time? Lu Ming looked at the young man. What are you saying? We came to Magic City Mountain this time to complete a mission. The young man said. Mission? Lu Ming was stunned. This was indeed unexpected. Don't tell me you're here to complete the mission from the Star Sky Battalion? The Universal Camp is starting to recruit new students again? At this time, Wu Zifeng suddenly spoke. Previously, Lu Ming had brought Xiao Yu, Wu Zifeng, and Yu Linglong with him. The three of them were right beside him. You know? The young man was stunned and looked at Wu Zifeng. This one is Wu Zifeng. Wu Zifeng cupped his fists. So you're a disciple of the Wu family. No wonder. Im Yang Shi. You're right, this is indeed a mission given to us by the Universal Camp. If you want to join the Universal Camp, you have to go through an assessment. This time, our assessment is to obtain the Demon Lord's token and the Demon King's token of the Demon Capital Mountain. Demon Capital Mountain's Demon Lord and Demon King, they all have a token that symbolizes their identity. Only by obtaining the Demon Capital Mountain's Demon Lord and Demon King token can one join the Universal Camp. The young man explained. The Universal Camp? Lu Ming was confused. Brother Lu, the Universal Camp is the gathering place for the paragons of the 9 absolute Heavenly King Mansion's army. Almost all of the strongest paragons of the 9 absolute Heavenly King Mansion are gathered in the Universal Camp. Wu Zifeng explained. Oh, I see. Is the cultivation environment in the Star Sky Camp that good? There are so many paragons in the 9 absolute Heavenly King Mansion, and they're all gathered there? Lu Ming was curious. The cultivation environment is one thing. The main thing is that only by joining the Universal Camp can one be recommended to cultivate in the core holy cultivation ground of the Great Void Holy Dynasty. If one wants to rise in the Great Void Holy Dynasty and take up a high position, this is something that cannot be avoided. Wu Zifeng explained. Lu Ming understood. This was a little like the imperial examination in the mortal world. One had to take one step at a time according to the rules and procedures before one could ascend to a high position. Lu Ming looked in the direction of the city lord's residence. He finally knew why these elites had suddenly attacked the city lord's mansion. It was because of the Demon Lord and Demon King tokens. This time, Lu Ming made the first move. He was like a fuse that ignited the battle. In fact, even if he did not make a move, those prodigies would find an opportunity to make a move. You guys stay here, I'll go take a look. After Lu Ming finished speaking, his body shrank and returned to his normal form. As his cultivation level increased, his divine body became stronger and stronger. The time he could take to transform into an ancient god body also became longer. This was the benefit of having abundant physical strength. Young master, be careful. Xiao Yu reminded. Don't worry. Lu Ming smiled and flew in the direction of the city lord's residence. Xiao Yu and the others didn't follow, neither did Yang Shi. He had been injured and needed time to heal. Very soon, Lu Ming arrived near the city master's residence. However, he didn't make a move. Instead, he found a hidden place nearby and hid. Then, he took out a divine pill and swallowed it. This kind of divine pill could recover one's strength. Moreover, Lu Ming was injured previously and needed time to recuperate. There might be a huge battle to fight later on. This matter was beyond Lu Ming's expectations. In this case, it was almost impossible to protect Magic City Mountain and it would be destroyed. If Lu Ming wanted to find out which force the Dark Ice Race and the 9 Absolute Heavenly King Mansion were colluding with, he could only rely on the Dark Knight Devil King. Lu Ming was waiting for the Night Demon King to appear. In the sky above the city lord's mansion, the battle was unusually brutal. Demonic city guards were constantly killed, and their corpses fell to the ground. The city lord's mansion was covered with the corpses of the Shanghai guards. The remaining 4 demon masters were also suppressed by the 4 9th-level celestial deities and were in a precarious situation. I'll fight it out with you guys, die. A demon master roared angrily. The divine power in his body started to burn as he fought fiercely with the 9th-level celestial deity. At the same time, the other 3 demon masters also gritted their teeth and burned their divine power to charge forward with all their might, trying to escape. You want to escape? Dream on. The 4 9th-level heavenly deity Heaven's favorites shouted coldly. They didn't seek to gain any merits, but they wanted to avoid any mistakes. They changed their strategy and only held the other party back tightly, no longer taking the initiative to attack. There was a time limit to burning Shen power. Soon, their Shen power would be used up and they would be at their mercy. Sure enough, not long after, the auras of the 4 demon masters rapidly declined. Buzz! The sound of the sword was deafening. The black-robed young man slashed his sword across the sky and killed a demon master. Die! The young man, who was covered in golden light, killed a demon master with one palm. Wu Shui's senior brother, the blood-robed young man, had also killed a demon master. Demon King! Demon King! The last demon master roared madly, his face full of unwillingness. However, before he could finish his words, he was also killed. At this point, the 9 great demon masters of Demonic City were all exterminated. Chapter 2968 Night Demon Lord appears. Please continue reading on Oxville. Omicron M. After the 4 paragons killed the Demon Lord, they looked into the depths of the City Lord's mansion. Boom! At this moment, a vast aura burst out from the depths of the City Lord's mansion. Then, a figure stepped out and stood in the sky. This person was the Night Demon King. Night Demon King, you finally appeared. Wuxia Sr., the blood-robed youth, said coldly. Why? Why do you want to kill us? The Night Demon Lord's face was filled with malevolence. Why are there so many whys? Do I need a reason to destroy a small mountain like yours? The young man who was covered in golden demonic light was very overbearing. Ha ha ha, I don't need a reason. Indeed. The Night Demon King laughed and his eyes became more ferocious. He stared at the four heavens favorites and sneered, you may be talented, but you're only heavenly gods. Do you think you can fight me? Also, you just had a great battle, so you must have used up a lot of your divine power, he he he. The Night Demon Lord sneered. So the reason you didn't come out just now was to waste Arshan power. What a cruel method. The black-robed youth said. It was obvious that the Night Devil King had long known about the battle outside, but no matter how the demon masters shouted, the Night Devil King did not appear. He was planning to let the demon masters consume the divine power of these geniuses. The more he consumed, the more confident he was. He, those trash, they died a worthy death for me. But you, so many heaven's favorites. Today, I can kill so many heaven's favorites with my own hands. It's not a waste to come to this world. Ha ha ha. The Night Demon Lord sneered, and his aura became even more violent. Boom! He suddenly struck out with his palm. This palm was aimed directly at the heaven's favorite who was covered in golden light. Boom! And NBSP, the youth covered in golden light, was constantly paying attention to the Night Demon King. As soon as the Night Demon King attacked, he attacked as well, a giant golden palm print blasting forward. The two palm prints clashed in the air. Boom! The air exploded, and the force spread in all directions. Then, the golden palm print crumbled. The young man, who was covered in golden light, retreated and spat out a mouthful of blood. There's an unbridgeable gap between the heavenly god realm and the divine king realm. Today, I'll let you all know that the gap between the heavenly god realm and the divine king realm can't be made up by talent alone. And NBSP die. The Night Demon King roared, his entire body radiating dazzling light like a burning star, his divine power thick to the extreme. At the Divine King realm, a condensed star core was simply too powerful. Even the weakest Divine King was many times stronger than a heavenly god. Boom! The Night Demon King moved again, continuing to attack the young man who was covered in golden light. King's Pagoda. At this moment, the young man, who was covered in golden light, let out a long roar. His glabella shone, and a small pagoda flew out. The small pagoda turned golden, and after it flew out, it rapidly grew in size, becoming the size of a mountain. Buzz! And NBSP, the small tower trembled, and a mysterious energy spread out, enveloping the Night Demon King. The Night Demon Lord's aura trembled, as if it was unstable. Damn it, a treasure that is specially used to deal with god kings, the Night Demon Lord roared. This kind of treasure was not a divine artifact but a secret treasure that had been refined through special means. This kind of secret treasure was specially used to deal with god kings. It produced a special fluctuation that could affect the core of a god king star. With an unstable star core, one's strength would naturally be greatly reduced. Of course, the higher one's cultivation was, the smaller the impact would be. However, to a one-stage god king like the Night Demon King, the impact was still huge. If talent can't make up for it, what about treasures? And NBSP die. The Golden Youth laughed coldly, his aura erupting as he charged at the Dark Night God King. Boom! The two of them exchanged another blow. This time, it was still the young man covered in golden light who retreated. You want to use a single treasure to deal with me? Dream on. And NBSP die. The Night Demon King roared and madly activated his divine power, trying to rush out of the King Suppression Tower's range. Who said there's only one treasure? The king destroying bell. Wuxia's senior brother waved his hand, and a large green bell flew out. Clang! Clang! The bell vibrated, creating sound waves that rushed toward the Night Demon King. The aura on the Night Demon Lord's body trembled again, becoming unstable. Ju King Sword! The black-robed young man shouted coldly. With a wave of his hand, a combat sword flew out. Endless sword chi rushed toward the Night Demon King. Three treasures that were specially used to deal with God Kings. This time, Night Demon Lord's expression really changed, becoming extremely ugly. Under the suppression of the three treasures, he could feel the star core in his body trembling non-stop as if it was being suppressed. No matter how hard he tried to operate it, he could not exert all his strength. Humph, Night Demon King, today is the day you die. Hee hee. Wuxia's senior brother sneered. His body flashed and he charged toward the Night Demon King. At the same time, the other three 9th-level celestial deity prodigies also charged towards the Night Demon King. You want to kill me? Dream on. And NBSP die. The Night Demon King roared. He wouldn't let himself be captured without a fight, so he used all his strength to resist. Boom! 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 And NBSP, the four heavens favorites, and the Night Demon King were engaged in an intense battle. The City Lord Mansion was in an uproar, and all sorts of divine light flew around. In the surroundings, the battle between the other heavens favorites and the Shanghai guards had already stopped. The remaining Shanghai guards who had not died had long since escaped. The elites didn't pursue. Their targets were the 9 demon masters and the Night Demon King. Killing the demonic city guards was useless. During this process, Lu Ming did not make a move. How could he stupidly rush out when it was such a good opportunity to sit on the mountain and watch the tiger's head and reap the benefits? He focused on recovering and healing his injuries. The wounds on his body had basically healed, and his physical strength had also recovered by 60 to 70%. He was waiting for an opportunity to strike. Let's attack too. On the side, Pei Lin, Wuxia, and a few other stronger heavens favorites also joined the battle. Under the influence of the heirloom, their strength was enough to pose a threat to the Night Demon Lord. In the blink of an eye, the two sides had been fighting for a few minutes. Night Demon King was gradually losing and was at a disadvantage. Pfft! A sword light flashed, and a sword wound appeared on the Night Demon King's body, blood flowing out. Bang! Then, the young man covered in golden light hit the Night Demon King with his palm, making the Night Demon King stagger and retreat. Blood oozed from the corner of his mouth. Seeing that the Night Demon Lord was injured, the paragons were even more excited. They used all kinds of techniques, divine skills, and secret skills, which broadened Lu Ming's horizons. Lu Ming realized that the secret skills controlled by the paragons of the 9 ultimate heavenly king mansion were shockingly powerful. Some of them were even close to his divine dragon materialization technique. Of course, this was because Lu Ming had not cultivated the divine dragon materialization technique to major success. He had obtained the divine dragon materialization art from a legacy site. The more he cultivated, the more unfathomable he felt. If he could cultivate hundreds or thousands of divine dragons in the future, Lu Ming was looking forward to the power. Chapter 2979 Killing the Demon King. Please continue reading on Oxville. Omicron M. The Night Demon Lord roared again and again, trying its best to resist. The two sides exchanged another 100 moves. More and more wounds appeared on the Night Demon King's body. With the defense and vitality of a King God Realm warrior, he could resist the attack for now. However, if this continued, he would be exhausted to death sooner or later. He was really aggrieved. He had the strength, but he couldn't use it. The Dark Night Demon King crazily activated his star core, but the three secret treasures emitted strange fluctuations and confined his star core. He tried his best, but he could only exert 50 to 60% of its power. Pfft! A sword light slashed at Night Demon King's neck. He dodged quickly, but it still left a sword wound on his cheek. Damn it, damn it! And NBSP, the Night Demon King roared. He had been continuously injured and had gone crazy. His eyes were filled with savagery. If you want me to die, then we'll die together. It's worth it to drag you Heaven's Pride experts down with me. And NBSP, die. The Night Demon King roared, and his aura suddenly became violent. Then, a ball of light shot out from his dantian. This ball of light was dazzling and the starlight was resplendent. Then, a crystal the size of a dragon's eye appeared. As soon as the crystal appeared, it emitted a terrifying fluctuation. It's a star core. A young man exclaimed. In the distance, Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. He could recognize that the crystal was the star core. It was the star core condensed by the Night Demon Lord when he broke through to the Divine King realm. It was different from the star core that Lu Ming had. The star core that Lu Ming had obtained was many times stronger than this one in terms of size, mass, and energy fluctuations. Although it couldn't be compared to a star core, the fluctuations emitted by this star core were extremely terrifying. Buzz! As soon as the star core appeared, it began to shake slightly. Then, a terrifying energy fluctuation spread out from the star core, as if it was going to break through the suppression of the three secret treasures. Not good. He's going to self-destruct his star core. Quickly retreat. A few of the young Heaven's favorites looked terrified as they retreated frantically. Go to hell. And NBSP, the Night Demon King, roared with a malevolent expression. After his roar, the star core cracked and split into two. Half of it flew into the Night Demon King's dantian, while the other half exploded with a boom. The Night Demon King didn't really want to completely self-destruct his star core. He actually split it into half, only half. This way, he could at least preserve some of his cultivation. The self-destruction of a star core, even if it was only half of it, would still be terrifyingly powerful. It was as if a planet had exploded. A mushroom cloud rose, and the terrifying energy spread in all directions. The first to bear the brunt were the three secret treasures. And NBSP Wang Wang Wang. The three secret treasures started to shake violently. Then, cracks appeared on them. Following that, more and more cracks appeared before they exploded. The three secret treasures exploded one after another, and the fluctuations disappeared. The remaining energy made the Heaven's favorites spit out blood. Fortunately, they had reacted early and retreated early. Furthermore, the Night Demon King had only self-destructed half of his star core. Although they were injured, they were not seriously injured. The Night Demon Lord himself also vomited blood. He had self-destructed half of his star core, and he had also suffered heavy injuries, greatly damaging his vitality. And NBSP at this moment, the Night Demon King couldn't care about his injuries anymore. He ran for his life and randomly chose a direction. This direction happened to be where Lu Ming was hiding. Chase! The Heaven's favorites let out a sigh of relief and started to chase after the Night Demon King. Buzz! The Night Demon Lord was very fast. Very soon, he was not far from Lu Ming. He really delivered himself to my door. Lu Ming pursed his lips and took out a long spear. With a flick of his hand, the long spear flew out like lightning and headed straight for the face of the Night Demon Lord. The Night Demon King was shocked and waved his hand to slap the spear away, but he also stopped. At this moment, Lu Ming had already rushed out. Buzz! Lu Ming soared into the sky and charged toward the Night Demon Lord. As he rushed out, his body swelled rapidly and he turned into a green-armored ancient god that was hundreds of meters tall. Before he even arrived, the 9 ice chains had already rushed out. It's you, Lu Ming. Get lost. When the Night Demon Lord saw Lu Ming, he roared and struck out with his palm. The palm force that could topple mountains and overturn the seas broke the 9 ice chains. However, Lu Ming's follow-up attack had arrived. Moon Slaying. Lu Ming held the spear with both hands and struck down. The huge spear's gleam pressed down on the Night Demon Lord. Boom! The spear radiance collided with the Night Demon King's attack. The Night Demon King's body trembled, and his palm almost exploded. Blood spurted out of his mouth. The Night Demon Lord had self-destructed half of his star core and suffered a great loss of vitality. He had less than 10% of his strength left. As for Lu Ming, after he reached the 4th level celestial deity realm, his combat strength had already completely surpassed the current Night Demon Lord. As soon as the two of them exchanged blows, Night Demon King was severely injured. Die! Starburst. Lu Ming took the opportunity to use his strongest move. A spear light suddenly burst out and stabbed toward Night Demon King. And NBSP die. Night Demon King roared and used all his strength to block, but the spear light exploded like a star core. And NBSP arg. The Night Demon King screamed as it was blown to pieces by this energy. Only a bit of its soul was left, and it wanted to escape. However, Lu Ming grabbed with his hand and a 9-clawed divine dragon flew out. It opened its mouth wide and swallowed the Night Demon Lord's soul into the air. Arg! With a shrill and unwilling scream, the Night Demon King's soul was completely destroyed. The Demon King of a generation was dead. Then, Lu Ming waved his hand and kept the Night Demon Lord's storage ring. Lu Ming had just put away the storage ring when Wuxia's senior brother, the young man who was covered in golden light, and the others arrived and appeared in front of Lu Ming. Kid, it's you. The witch's blood roared ferociously. It was me. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Kid, hand over the Night Demon King's storage ring and it'll give you a quick death. Wuxia's senior brother, the blood-robed young man, said coldly. He did not conceal the killing intent on his body at all. Give me a quick death. Just you? Lu Ming was disdainful. Humph, kid, don't think that you're so great just because you won first place in the great battle in Shanghai. At that time, it was inconvenient for us to participate in the battle to avoid alerting the enemy. Otherwise, who do you think you are? The blood-robed young man sneered. He suddenly took a step forward and rushed toward Lu Ming. A huge blood-red palm grabbed at Lu Ming. Get lost! Lu Ming shouted and swept his long spear out. Boom! The blood-colored palm collapsed, and the blood-robed young man retreated. You! Your strength? The blood-robed young man looked at Lu Ming in shock. He was no match for Lu Ming at all. Back then, although Lu Ming was powerful and could defeat Pei Lin, he still thought that he could defeat Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming's strength had completely surpassed his. Chapter 2970 Universal Camp. Please continue reading on Oxville. Omicron M. You want to kill me with your strength? You're the one who will die today. Lu Ming sneered and charged at the blood-robed young man with his spear. However, at this moment, the other young heaven's favorites made their move. All sorts of attacks were directed at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. He shook his long spear and shot out more than a dozen spearlights at the paragons. However, Lu Ming had now broken through to the 4th level celestial deity realm and his strength was at its peak. As for the blood-robed youth and the rest, they had suffered some injuries from the Night Demon King's self-destruction of half of its star core. Therefore, even if they joined forces, they were not Lu Ming's match. The spear radiance was dazzling and sharp. It pierced through the attacks of the blood-robed youth and the others. The blood-robed youth and the others trembled and retreated. You want to kill me with your strength? A mocking voice came out of Lu Ming's mouth. He held his spear and charged forward. The long spear shook and a huge spear ray swept out. The blood-robed young man and the others looked ghastly. They shouted angrily and each of them used their unique skills. However, they were not Lu Ming's match and were forced to retreat. Damn it! How can this kid's strength be so shocking? The blood-robed youth and the others roared in their hearts. They were the proud children of heaven from the 9 absolute heavenly king mansion, but they had never seen Lu Ming before. Where did Lu Ming come from? Bang! Lu Ming continued to step forward with a violent aura. The expressions of the blood-robed youth and company changed again, and they couldn't help but retreat. Lu Ming advanced while they retreated. They no longer had the courage to fight. In their current situation, even if they fought again, they would still be defeated. Retreat. In the end, the blood-robed young man and the rest were unwilling to give up. They used their movement techniques and drifted backward, distancing themselves from Lu Ming. Cowards, you still want my storage ring? Get lost! Lu Ming shouted coldly. The blood-robed youth's expression was extremely unsightly. Brat, you'll remember what happened today. The blood-robed young man left these words coldly and left in a flash. The other young geniuses also cast a cold glance at Lu Ming. They had no choice but to leave. Not long after, all the heaven's favorites here had left. Let's search this place. Lu Ming said to Qiu Yu and the rest as his body shrunk. After that, they rushed into the city lord's mansion and started searching to see if they could find any clues. Originally, the majestic and grand city lord's mansion had already collapsed. It was in shambles and there was not a single person. Lu Ming and the rest were shuttling back and forth in the dilapidated city lord's mansion to see if they could find any clues about the dark ice race and the 9 absolute heavenly kings' mansion. They didn't notice that a person had appeared not far from the city lord's mansion. This person was the daughter of the Night Devil King, Night Rose. In the previous battle, Night Rose had not appeared. Night Rose looked at Lu Ming and the rest who were in the distance. Her eyes were filled with hatred, greed, and other complicated emotions. Lu Ming, sooner or later, I will swallow you. He. A cold sneer came out of Night Rose's mouth. With an evil light in her eyes, she disappeared in a flash. Just as the Night Rose disappeared, 2 black shadows appeared out of thin air. These 2 black figures were wrapped in black robes, and their faces could not be seen clearly. Only a pair of cold eyes could be seen under the black robes. What do we do? The Dark Knight storage ring is in that kid's hands. One of them said. With our strength, we're not this kid's match at all. The other person said. However, the Night Demon King's storage ring must not fall into the hands of outsiders. We must get it. The first person said. The plan now is to secretly keep an eye on them, then send back a message and ask the master to send experts to kill them. The person behind said. Alright, that's the only way. The first person said. After he finished speaking, the 2 of them disappeared without a trace. Lu Ming and the others were completely unaware that they were being watched. They had searched the city lord mansion several times and found many treasures. However, they did not find any clues about the dark ice race colluding with the 9 absolute heavenly king mansion or the treasures of the 9 absolute heavenly king mansion. I wonder if there are any clues in the Night Demon Lord storage ring? Lu Ming pondered in his heart. After searching for 2 more rounds, there were still no clues. Lu Ming, Qiu Yu, and the rest left the place. Not long after, they found a hidden place. Lu Ming took out the Night Demon Lord storage ring and checked it. Lu Ming was stunned when he took a look. And NBSP, the Night Demon King, controlled Mo Yechuan and had accumulated a lot of wealth over the years. In the storage ring, there were all kinds of precious divine pills, divine medicines, and divine materials. There were also divine weapons of all levels, and there were even a few supreme-grade divine weapons. As for divine crystals, there were countless of them. In addition, Lu Ming also found a divine-grade wondrous technique. This divine-grade technique could be cultivated to divine-grade divine power when cultivated to its peak. However, the Night Demon King clearly had not cultivated to the highest realm, or his strength would be even stronger. Lu Ming smiled. Of course, he had to cultivate this divine art. In addition, Lu Ming also discovered a large number of demon night springs. It weighed more than 500 jin. Good lord, I guess all the demon night spring in the entire demon capital mountain is here. No wonder I couldn't find it before. Lu Ming muttered. Then, he took out 20 caddies of demon night spring and gave them to Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng, giving them 10 caddies each. 5 kilograms of demon night spring was enough for them to use for a long time. The two of them were naturally ecstatic as they kept it. Lu Ming did not give it to Qiu Yu. He would give her however much she wanted to use. There was no need to give it to her on purpose. To Lu Ming's disappointment, he did not find any clues about the treasures of the 9 Absolute Heavenly King Mansion in the Night Demon King's storage ring. Did the Night Demon King not leave any clues? At the thought of this, Lu Ming was a little disappointed. Then, he checked the storage rings of the Demon Masters but did not find any clues. However, a few tokens appeared in his hand. A total of 4 pieces. A Demon King token and 3 Demon Master tokens were indeed what Wuxia and the others had come here for. The Demon King's token, the Demon Master's token. As long as you have this, you can join the Universal Camp. Wu Zifeng's eyes flashed, revealing a trace of fiery light. Did we just come out of nowhere? You can also join the Universal Camp? Lu Ming asked curiously. Yes, as long as one's age doesn't exceed the limit and their cultivation is above Heavenly God, as long as they have the Demon King and Demon King's token, they can enter the Universal Camp. Wu Zifeng said. After that, Wu Zifeng muttered to himself for a moment and then continued, Brother Lu, if you want to investigate the treasure of the 9 Absolute Heavenly King Mansion, why don't you join the Universal Camp first? After all, the Universal Camp and the guards of the 9 Absolute Heavenly King Mansion are very close. You might be able to get some clues. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know and report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Spectacular. Please continue reading on Oxville. Omicron M. Alright, then I'll join the Universal Camp first. Lu Ming nodded and made his decision. Originally, the purpose of his trip was to go to the 9 Absolute Heavenly King Mansion. He came to Magic City Mountain only to check it out first. If he didn't find any clues, he would go to the 9 Absolute Heavenly King Mansion to investigate. Alright, let's go. Wu Zifeng said. Immediately, the 4 of them left Magic City Mountain. After a long journey, they arrived at the core of Chu Tian Star Field. Then, they took the Interstar Field teleportation formation and headed towards the 9 Absolute Heavenly King Mansion. Chu Tian Star Field was still a long distance away from the 9 Absolute Heavenly King Mansion. Even if they were to travel in a straight line, they were still more than 10 star fields away. How long was this distance? They used nearly a year just to travel. Finally, they arrived at the territory near the 9 Absolute Heavenly King Mansion. Then, they boarded the Starry Sky battleship and flew towards the 9 Absolute Heavenly King Mansion. Gradually, a huge galaxy appeared in front of Lu Ming and the rest in the universe. This is, looking at the galaxy, Lu Ming and Qiu Yu were stunned. This galaxy actually had 3 stars. Most galaxies were fixed stars. With a star as the core, the other planets would rotate around the star and form a solar system. However, this galaxy had 3 stars. Huge planets were revolving around the three stars in a strange orbit. Lu Ming took a glance. There were at least 30 planets revolving around the three stars. As the distance between them shortened, a scene that shocked Lu Ming even more appeared. At the periphery of the entire galaxy, the planets were shining with all kinds of light. At the same time, there were many huge objects patrolling around the galaxy. These huge objects gave off an extremely dangerous feeling. Wu Zifeng and Yu Linglong's faces were calm, clearly already used to it. These huge objects are all war machines. They are extremely terrifying and can monitor the space around this galaxy. Once they discover an enemy invasion, they will launch a thunderous counterattack. It is said that even peak Divine King existences will be killed. Wu Zifeng explained. Lu Ming gasped in shock. To be able to kill a peak God King, this level of power was truly shocking. Any one of them would be able to crush the Qin Heaven starfield. Let's go in. Well, go to that planet first. Wu Zifeng pointed to a fiery red planet at the outermost part of the galaxy. Lu Ming steered the Starry Sky warship and flew towards the fiery red planet. Who is it? With a cold shout, a team of strong men in fiery red armor appeared on the periphery of the planet, blocking Lu Ming and the rest's path. The aura that he exuded made Lu Ming and the rest fearful. Divine King. There are Divine King realm existences among them. Lu Ming was secretly shocked. There were 12 men in this group. Lu Ming could sense that at least 3 of them were at the Divine King realm. The other 9 were probably at the peak of the Heavenly God realm. As expected of the 9 absolute Heavenly King manner. They were only the guards at the outermost perimeter. There were many God Kings that appeared casually. Their strength was truly unfathomable. Wu Zifeng, a disciple of the Wu family. These are my friends. Wu Zifeng flew out of the Starry Sky warship and took out an identity token. They're indeed the Wu family's disciples. Where are they? Have they ever been to the 9 absolute Heavenly King mansion before? If they haven't, you have to leave behind their life aura. A Divine King man said. Yes. Wu Zifeng nodded. On the way, Wu Zifeng had explained the procedure to enter the 9 absolute Heavenly King mansion. Lu Ming was not surprised. He went forward with Qiu Yu and left their life aura on an array disk. After leaving behind their life aura, the strong men in fiery red armor did not stop them and let Lu Ming and the rest enter the planet. After entering the planet, they followed the other direction of the planet and flew towards the core of the galaxy. If one did not pass through this planet and barged in directly from another space in the galaxy, they would be attacked by the war machines. Unless one's cultivation surpassed the God King realm, one would not be able to survive. He flew straight to the core of the star. Not long after, a huge planet appeared in front of him. This planet was the largest in this galaxy. Even from far away, one could feel the surging energy from this planet. There was a halo around each planet. From afar, it was very beautiful. At the same time, Lu Ming could sense that energy was constantly being absorbed by this planet from all directions, even from the universe and the starry sky, and was gathering on this planet. There's a large formation on this planet that can absorb energy from the outside world. Lu Ming muttered. That's right. This planet does have a large array that constantly absorbs the energy of the universe and gathers it on the planet, making the divine qi on the planet extremely rich. Wu Zifeng explained and then smiled. This is the 9 absolute Heavenly King mansion. We've arrived. This is the 9 absolute Heavenly King mansion? The entire planet? Lu Ming was surprised. That's right. The entire planet is the 9 absolute Heavenly King mansion. That's right. Wu Zifeng nodded and explained, the entire planet is covered by a peerless formation. It's like a huge mansion or a city. Lu Ming and Qiu Yu were shocked. This was really a big deal. As the distance between them shortened, Lu Ming finally realized that the entire planet was covered by a huge light shield. However, in different directions of the planet, the light shield would open up a gap, like a door. Wu Zifeng told him that there were a total of 8 openings on the entire planet, which were 8 gates, distributed in 8 directions of the planet. Each gate was guarded by a large number of experts. With such tight defense, there's actually still someone who can steal a precious treasure from the 9 absolute heavenly king manor. Hee hee. Lu Ming sneered. At this point, Lu Ming understood even more. If there was no one in the 9 absolute heavenly king mansion cooperating, it was impossible for outsiders to steal the treasure. There was definitely someone working with them. They flew towards the nearest gate. There were a large number of experts guarding the gate. They were all wearing battle armor and had a shocking aura. God King, they're all God Kings. Lu Ming could sense a terrifying aura from these people. It was the aura of a God King. These guards were actually all God Kings. Lu Ming and Xiao Yu left behind a trace of life aura here before they were able to enter the door. As soon as he entered the door, Lu Ming felt a strong divine aura blowing in his face. What a dense divine qi! Lu Ming took a deep breath, feeling refreshed. Cultivating here would definitely be much faster than cultivating outside. Let's go. I'll bring you to the Wu clan's residence. Wu Zifeng said and flew forward first. Lu Ming and the few of them followed. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chio awakens. Please continue reading on Oxville. Omicron M. This planet was the 9 absolute heavenly king mansion. Therefore, there were no cities on this planet. In the vast territory, all kinds of buildings could be built wherever one wanted, and they could cultivate. Lu Ming and the rest were flying at a high altitude. They looked up and realized that the entire planet had mountains, lakes, and rivers. There was everything one could think of. Moreover, there were various buildings in between the mountains, lakes, and rivers. The Wu family's headquarters is on this planet. Lu Ming asked curiously. You can say that, but it's not very accurate. Actually, in the 9 absolute heavenly king mansion, there are many large aristocratic families with long inheritances, such as our Wu family and the Qin family where Qin Wuyo and the others were born. These big aristocratic families all have powerhouses holding positions in the 9 absolute heavenly king mansion. Therefore, their headquarters are all set up on this planet. However, most of the ancestral lands of the macro worlds are not here. They are scattered in different star fields, which are the foundations of the big families. For example, although the Wu family's headquarters is here, our ancestral land is in another star area, where most of the Wu family's powerhouses are gathered. Lu Ming nodded and roughly understood. Not long after, an endless mountain range appeared before their eyes. There were countless buildings built on these mountains, and one could not see the end of them. This was the Wu family's headquarters in the 9 absolute heavenly king mansion. Let's go, you guys can stay at the Wu residence for now. Wu Zifeng said. Everyone flew forward. Third young master. Greetings, third young master. On the way, many people saluted Wu Zifeng. Although Wu Zifeng's cultivation was not very high, he was the son of the current Wu family's patriarch, so his status was very high. After entering the Wu family, Wu Zifeng arranged a courtyard for Lu Ming and Xiao Yu to stay in. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming and Xiao Yu had been at the Wu family for 3 days. On this day, Wu Zifeng and Yu Linglong went to look for Lu Ming. Brother Lu, I have a favor to ask of you. Wu Zifeng said. Brother Wu, if you have something to say, just say it. Lu Ming smiled. Brother Lu, are you selling that Demon Master token? Wu Zifeng said. Demon Master token? Why? You need it? If you need it, just take it. Xiao Yu and I only need 2. Lu Ming said. He had 3 Demon Master tokens and 1 Demon King token on him. 2 were enough for him and Xiao Yu to enter the universal camp, and the 2 extra were useless. He had originally wanted to give it to Wu Zifeng and Yu Linglong, but their cultivation had not reached the heavenly god realm, so they could not use it. It's like this, I have 2 cousins who also participated in this time's universal camp assessment. However, their luck was rather bad and they didn't manage to complete the assessment. Hence, they would like to purchase 2 Demon Lord tokens from you. Wu Zifeng said. The Wu family also participated in the universal camp's assessment. Why didn't I see him on Mount Shanghai? Lu Ming asked curiously. The Magic City Mountain assessment is just one of the assessments in the universal camp. In fact, there are many geniuses who want to join the universal camp each time. The assessment is also divided into many categories and they are all randomly selected. Some people will get this kind of assessment while others will get that kind of assessment. Those who head to Magic City Mountain are only a small portion of the assessment in the universal camp. Wu Zifeng explained. Lu Ming had a sudden realization. So that was the case. It seemed that Wu Zifeng's 2 cousins had taken part in other assessments and did not complete them. It doesn't matter, having an extra Demon Master token is useless. If your cousin needs it, then just give it to them. Lu Ming said. Then I'll thank you in advance. I'll call my 2 cousins over. Wu Zifeng was overjoyed and left Lu Ming's courtyard. Not long after, Wu Zifeng came with 2 young men. The 2 young men looked like they were in their 20s. They were tall, burly, and handsome. Wu Ming. Wu Yue. Greetings, Brother Lu. The 2 young men cupped their fists at Lu Ming. You're too polite, brother. There's no need to be so polite. I heard that you 2 brothers need Demon Master tokens, so I have 2 extra here. Here. 2 Demon Master tokens appeared in Lu Ming's hands. With a wave of his hand, they flew toward Wu Ming and Wu Yu. Wu Ming and Wu Yu reached out to receive it and revealed a look of great joy. Brother Lu, how many divine crystals does the Demon Master token cost? Well, buy it. Wu Ming said. Since you are Zifeng's brothers, you are also my brothers. We are all brothers, so there is no need to be so polite. I have no use for these 2 Demon Master tokens. You can just take them. There is no need to buy them. Lu Ming said with a smile. Then this. How can we do that? Wu Yue hesitated. Brother Wu, unless you look down on me and are unwilling to be friends with me, Lu Ming deliberately sighed. Brother Lu, you've misunderstood us. We've heard from Zifeng that you're an unparalleled heaven's favorite. We've wanted to be friends with you for a long time. How could we look down on you? That's right. In that case, well, take this Demon Master token. Wu Ming and Wu Yu quickly said. My 2 brothers Wu, when do you plan to go to the universal camp? Lu Ming changed the topic and asked. There's still 7 more days before we report to the Star Sky camp. How about we go together then? Wu Ming said. Just what I wanted. Lu Ming smiled. They were all young people and got to know each other very quickly. They took out some fine wine and chatted as they drank. Lu Ming had a better understanding of the situation in the 9 Absolute Heavenly King Mansion. After 3 rounds of wine, Wu Zifeng and the others took their leave. For the next few days, Lu Ming and Xiao Yu stayed at the Wu residence. They did not know that 2 black-robed men were pacing back and forth in the distance. What do we do? They've entered the Wu residence. The Wu family was extremely powerful. Since Lu Ming and the rest had entered the Wu family, they could do nothing about it. They can't possibly stay in the Wu family forever. They've obtained the Devil King and Devil Lord's tokens, so they'll most likely join the universal camp. Well, make the necessary preparations on the way to the universal camp and kill them in one fell swoop. The other black-robed man said coldly. The two of them observed for a while more before they left in a flash. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. Lu Ming was cultivating that day. These days, he had been cultivating the saint-grade divine skill that he had obtained from the Night Demon King. The last time on Magic City Mountain, Lu Ming had forcefully tried to break through to the 4th-level celestial deity realm, causing his foundation to be unstable. In the following period of time, it would be impossible for Lu Ming to break through. He could only polish his foundation first. Only when his foundation was stable could he continue to break through to the next realm. While he was polishing his foundation, Lu Ming could cultivate his new divine technique. At this moment, Lu Ming's wrist emitted a series of wonderful fluctuations. This fluctuation came from Qiuqiu. Qiuqiu had turned into a bangle and was wearing it on Lu Ming's wrist. It had been in deep sleep for hundreds of years and there was no movement. Now, there was finally movement. Lu Ming was overjoyed. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2974 Qiuqiu has become a god king. Please continue reading on Oxville. Omicron M. Lu Ming revealed a look of joy. Qiuqiu, who had not moved for hundreds of years, finally moved. He knew that Qiuqiu had most likely refined the bronze it had devoured in the ancient god's world. After refining for a few hundred years, what realm could Qiuqiu's cultivation reach? Lu Ming was filled with anticipation. At this moment, the bangle that Qiuqiu had transformed into glowed and flew out, turning into a round metal ball that emitted powerful fluctuations. Qiu Yu was also startled. She came out of the room and looked at Qiuqiu curiously. "Young master, what's wrong?" Qiu Yu asked. "Qiuqiu is about to evolve." What a strong fluctuation! Lu Ming's expression changed slightly. The radiance emitted from Qiuqiu's body became more and more intense, and the energy fluctuations that permeated the air also became stronger and stronger. "Let's go, well, leave this place first," Lu Ming said. Then, he waved his hand and kept Qiuqiu into a storage ring. He rose into the sky with Qiu Yu and flew out of the Wu family. Lu Ming was a guest brought back by the Wu family's third young master, Wu Zifeng. Naturally, no one stopped him. Lu Ming left the Wu family's residence smoothly. He sped up and found a remote place with no one around and let Qiuqiu out. Boom! After Qiuqiu was released, it exploded with a huge wave of energy. At the same time, boundless divine qi in the world gathered towards Qiuqiu. Fortunately, this was the 9 Absolute Heavenly King Mansion. The divine qi here was extremely dense, even denser than low-grade divine crystals. It was endless. A large amount of divine qi was absorbed by Qiuqiu, and the aura that Qiuqiu emitted rose at an astonishing speed. 3rd-level Heavenly Deity, 4th-level Heavenly Deity, 5th-level Heavenly Deity. Very soon, he reached 9th-level Celestial Deity. This, Lu Ming and Qiu Yu were both dumbfounded. They were shocked by the speed of improvement. This speed of improvement was even faster than a rocket. However, it did not stop when it reached the 9th-level Celestial Deity. It continued to improve. In the next moment, the aura Qiuqiu emitted skyrocketed once again, breaking through the 9th-level Celestial Deity realm and reaching the half-step Divine King realm. However, this was still not the limit. He was still improving. Could it be that I can reach the Divine King realm? Lu Ming was shocked and full of anticipation. After sleeping for a few hundred years, he was able to break through to the Divine King realm from the 1st-level Heavenly God realm in a single day. This speed would probably scare people to death if it was spread out. However, Qiuqiu had refined that mysterious bronze, so anything was possible. Qiuqiu's body glowed with a resplendent bronze luster. Its body seemed to be nurturing a terrifying energy that was trying to break through to the Divine King realm. Boom! Boom! A series of violent rumbles came from Qiuqiu's body. After a while, boom! An extremely terrifying aura burst out from Qiuqiu's body, and a powerful pressure spread out from Qiuqiu's body. Lu Ming and Xiao Yu could not help but be pushed back by the pressure. They only stopped after they were 10,000 meters away. The pressure of a divine king. Qiuqiu has really broken through. Lu Ming was overjoyed. Qiuqiu's strength was already very shocking. If it broke through to the divine king realm, it was unknown how powerful it would be. Now, it was Lu Ming's first time in the 9 absolute heavenly king mansion. He did not know what kind of crisis he would face. Now that Qiuqiu had broken through, it would become a powerful helper for Lu Ming. Hu, the boundless energy between heaven and earth continued to gather towards Qiuqiu. Only after a few hours did Qiuqiu stop absorbing energy, and its aura also stabilized. First level Divine King Realm. Lu Ming could sense that Qiuqiu's cultivation was at the first level of the Divine King Realm. After it concealed its aura, eyes and a mouth appeared on Qiuqiu's round body. It looked at Lu Ming. Lu Ming, I've made a breakthrough to the Divine King Realm. Ha ha ha. Qiuqiu opened its mouth and laughed heartily. It pounced toward Lu Ming and landed on his shoulder. You can speak? Lu Ming smiled. I can. I'll be able to do it once I break through to the God King Realm. Unfortunately, I'm only at the first level of the God King Realm, Qiuqiu even sighed. Lu Ming and Xiao Yu were speechless. He had only slept for a few hundred years and he had already reached the Divine King Realm. If other people knew about this, they would be infuriated to death. Lu Ming, why are you only at the 3rd level Celestial Deity Realm? How do you cultivate? Then, Qiuqiu spoke again, almost causing Lu Ming to suffer internal injuries from anger. Lu Ming's eyelids twitched a few times. Yes, you're awesome. That's enough. In the future, if I encounter an opponent I can't beat, I'll rely on you. Don't worry, leave it to me. I feel like I have an endless amount of power. Qiuqiu shouted, its round body bouncing around in the air. Qiuqiu had broken through to the Divine King Realm. Lu Ming was in a good mood. He took out a large amount of precious metals for Qiuqiu to eat. After Qiuqiu saw these metals, its eyes lit up. It stretched out 2 tentacles, grabbed them, and stuffed them into its mouth. It looked very happy. Qiuqiu woke up, and the following days became more lively. Soon, the 10 days were up. On this day, Lu Ming, Xiao Yu, Wu Ming, and Wu Yu met up and left the Wu family for the Universal Camp. The Universal Camp was also on this planet, the 9 Absolute Heavenly King Mansion, and was rather far away from the Wu family. The 4 of them quickly flew towards the Universal Camp. Lu Ming, wait, just as they were flying over a mountain range, the Liang character mumbled, looking very anxious. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat and he immediately shouted, wait a moment. He pulled Xiao Yu's hand and stopped. Brother Lu, what's wrong? Seeing that Lu Ming had suddenly stopped, Wu Ming and Wu Yu also stopped and looked at Lu Ming in surprise. Lu Ming did not answer. He did not know what was going on. He was asking about the quantity formula. Old Liang, what's going on? Lu Ming asked. I don't know the details, but I can sense that there's an abnormality in the energy in the area ahead. The quantity formula said. Abnormal energy? Lu Ming was puzzled. That's right. The energy is abnormal. It's drawn but not released. It's very powerful and extremely similar to some kind of great array. The quantity formula said. The quantity formula did not understand formations, but it was extremely sensitive to energy. A great formation? Lu Ming frowned. There was actually a large formation in this barren mountain. Could there be some ruins in front? Lu Ming's imagination ran wild. There might be a large formation up ahead. Lu Ming said to Wu Yu and Wu Ming. A formation? Could it be some ruins? Wu Ming and Wu Yu also thought so. I don't know, but this formation is very powerful. I'm afraid we can't break it. Let's note down the location and find an expert to break it in the future. Let's go around this place first. Lu Ming said. Wu Ming and Wu Yu nodded. This was a more secure method. Then, everyone detoured around this area and advanced in another direction. However, they had not flown far when a group of people surrounded Lu Ming and the other three in the middle of the barren mountain below. They were a group of people wearing long robes with blood-red edges. They had wooden expressions, but each of them exuded a cold killing intent. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2974 Killing Intent, Death Warrior. Please continue reading on Oxville. Omicron M. Who are you? Wu Yu and Wu Ming's expressions changed drastically as they shouted out. However, these people in blood-rimmed robes didn't even look at Wu Ming and Wu Yu. Their expressions were still wooden. You can actually sense the formation that we have set up and go around it. Impressive. However, you still have to die. One of the burly men spoke. Even as he spoke, his expression was still wooden and his voice was cold, as if there was no emotion at all. So, that formation was set up by you guys. Lu Ming's gaze turned cold. It seemed that the other party had been waiting for them here for a long time and had set up a big formation here. Fortunately, the measure character had sensed an unusual energy fluctuation and thus avoided the big formation. Otherwise, once they walked into the big formation set up by others, it would be more likely to be a disaster. Who was the other party? Lu Ming thought of Qin Wuyo and the rest. In the Qin Heaven Starfield, Lu Ming had fought against Qin Wuyo and the others, suppressing a group of geniuses from the 9 Absolute Heavenly King Mansion and offending a group of people. Those people had a reason to kill Lu Ming, but he didn't meet Qin Wuyo and the others when he came. How did they know that Lu Ming was here? There was also Wuxia and the others he had met on Mount Modu. Those people had a reason to kill Lu Ming. However, they did not know that he had come to the 9 Absolute Heavenly King Mansion. Could it be that him being followed? Lu Ming's heart suddenly moved as he thought of this possibility. This was the only way for the Wu family to get to the Universal Camp. If not for the fact that the other party had been paying attention to his whereabouts, how could they possibly have set up a formation here? Many thoughts flashed through Lu Ming's mind in an instant. However, the other party had already made their move. Kill. A saber appeared in the hands of the 3 dull-looking burly men. 2 rays of saber light slashed toward Lu Ming at the same time. Fast, extremely fast, and they all attacked at the same time, without a single mistake. Their cooperation was flawless. This was clearly the result of many years of training. If you want to kill my Wu family's friends, you'll have to get past us first. Wu Yu and Wu Ming shouted and attacked as well. The divine skills that the 2 of them cultivated were extremely special. As soon as they attacked, tens of thousands of horses galloped forward. Hundreds of divine horses stepped on the void, wanting to trample the enemy to death. However, as the blade light slashed, the mystical horses were shattered one by one. In an instant, the hundreds of mystical horses were all annihilated. Wu Ming and Wu Yu were forced back and spat out large mouthfuls of blood. Half-step Divine King, which family are you from? Wu Ming and Wu Yu shouted at the same time in shock. The 2 of them were 8th-level heavenly gods and the divine energy they controlled was undoubtedly divine-grade divine energy. However, the opponent's cultivation had reached the half-step Divine King realm and he completely suppressed them. Let's go down and find the answer. The two middle-aged men said coldly. They attacked again and charged at Lu Ming. The other men in long robes surrounded them to prevent Lu Ming and the rest from escaping. Roar! Lu Ming let out an ancient god's roar. His body expanded rapidly and turned into an ancient god body. Boom! Boom! The long spear shook and swept out. It swept across the opponent's blade light and exploded with two loud bangs. The two middle-aged men were directly sent flying. His strength is indeed astonishing. Let's attack together and end this battle quickly. A man in a long robe with blood-red edges shouted coldly. His figure flashed and he charged towards Lu Ming. The others also made their moves at the same time. One after another, blade lights were dazzling and full of killing intent. This was a killing blade. There were no unnecessary tricks, but it was fast, fierce, and powerful. You guys, stay behind me. Lu Ming waved his hand and a stream of divine power enveloped Xiao Yu, Wu Ming, and Wu Yu. Then, he shook his long spear and rays of spear radiance burst out. Dozens of huge spear shadows filled the void and stabbed in all directions. Rumbling sounds could be heard in the sky. There were a total of 12 men in blood-red robes. All of them were at the half-step Divine King realm and they were cultivating divine skills that could kill. When they worked together, their strength was terrifying. Even with Lu Ming's current abilities, it was difficult for him to fight. Buzz! A ray of saber light passed through Lu Ming's attack and slashed at his body, producing a sizzling sound and four-colored sparks. A green scale was cut open and blood seeped out. The other party's attack was enough to break through Lu Ming's defense. Get lost, let's go. Lu Ming shouted as he cast the Divine Dragon Materialization Art. The 7 nine-clawed divine dragons charged wildly in one direction. At the same time, Lu Ming took a step forward and rushed in that direction as well. Bang! Bang! A series of collisions broke out. A few people in long robes with blood-red edges were pushed back by the 9-clawed divine dragon phenomenon. Lu Ming took the opportunity to break out of the encirclement. After breaking out of the encirclement, he protected Xiao Yu and the rest behind him. Lu Ming had no more reservations. If you want to kill me, then you can all stay here today. Lu Ming's eyes flickered with ruthlessness. He had rushed out of the encirclement not to escape but to make a better attack. Star explosion. A low growl came from Lu Ming's mouth. Then, the divine power in Lu Ming's body surged wildly into the long spear. Buzz! A huge spear light burst out from the long spear and stabbed at the 12 men in blood-red robes. Go around it, attack. A man in a blood-red robe shouted coldly. The 12 men in blood-red robes used their strange identities and dodged the attack of the spear light. They then came from both sides of the spear light. Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. How could he easily get around exploding star? Explode! Lu Ming muttered. Boom! The huge spear radiance suddenly exploded and turned into countless strong qi that swept in all directions. Like a stormy sea, it crushed the 12 men in blood-red robes. Not good. The expressions of the 12 men changed drastically as they frantically retreated. However, they were still hit by the powerful qi and coughed up blood. They were all heavily injured. Kill! Lu Ming took the opportunity to attack. However, at this moment, Lu Ming's expression changed drastically. He could feel a terrifying pressure coming down from the sky. Then, an immense force came crashing down on Lu Ming. Lu Ming could not be bothered to kill the other party. He waved his spear and swept it towards the sky. Only then did he realize that there was also a saber flare slashing toward him from the sky. Boom! The saber ray slashed at the long spear. In an instant, Lu Ming's expression changed. The power of this saber ray was terrifyingly strong, as unfathomable as the ocean. Lu Ming trembled violently and his body retreated rapidly. The long spear in his hand trembled continuously and he almost lost his grip and flew out. God King! Lu Ming muttered and looked at the sky. In the sky, there was also a man in a long robe with blood-red edges. He looked to be in his 60s. He stepped on the void and descended from the sky. This man was a divine king expert. The man in the blood-red robe looked at Lu Ming in surprise. When I received the news, saying how monstrous a 4th-level celestial deity's combat strength is, I originally didn't believe it and let them give it a try. I didn't expect that your strength is even more terrifying than imagined. The other party sighed. This man in the blood-rimmed robe had more emotions than the other men. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know and report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2976 Killing a God King in Succession. Please continue reading on Oxville. Omicron M. Death Warriors, you are Death Warriors. Suddenly, Wu Ming thought of something, and his expression turned extremely ugly. So what if you can? The Divine King man in the blood-red robe sneered. Which family do you belong to? We are the core disciples of the Wu family. Are you trying to start a war with the Wu family by killing us? Wu Yu shouted. If I kill all of you, who will know who killed you? The other party sneered. You guys, Wu Ming and Wu Yu's faces were pale with despair. The enemy had even sent out Divine King warriors. Today, they would die for sure. 12 half-step Divine Kings and 1 Divine King. It's almost certain that they will be able to kill us heavenly gods. Since we are dead for sure, can you tell me who sent you? Lu Ming asked, pretending to be in despair. Kid, don't try to trick us. We won't tell you. A cold voice was heard. It did not come from the Divine King, but from behind Lu Ming and the others. Lu Ming, Qiu Yu, Wu Ming, and Wu Yu's expressions changed as they hurriedly turned around. A man in a long robe with blood-red edges had appeared behind them. He was a skinny middle-aged man, but the aura that emanated from his body was extremely terrifying. God King. Yet another God King. The other party had actually sent out 2 God Kings. Wu Ming and Wu Yu had completely given up. The other party's actions were simply flawless, sending out 2 God Kings. Furthermore, they didn't appear all at once. First, one of them would be dispatched while the other would hide in the dark to check the situation. After confirming that there were no problems, the other God King would appear. 2 Divine Kings, one in front and one behind, surrounded them. There were also 12 half-step Divine Kings. Lu Ming and the rest were doomed with such a formation. Lu Ming also pretended to look miserable. He sighed and said, 2 God Kings. What a grand plan. Is there any more? Come out together. We have enough people to kill you all. The skinny middle-aged man behind said. Since we're dead for sure, can you tell me why you want to kill me? Is it for revenge, or is it for something I have? Lu Ming asked again. He wanted to take the opportunity to get some clues from the other party. However, the 2 Divine King realm men remained expressionless and silent, not revealing any information. However, Lu Ming caught the expressions of the few half-step Divine Kings in the blood-rimmed robes. When Lu Ming asked this question, a few half-step Divine Kings in blood-red robes subconsciously glanced at the storage ring on Lu Ming's finger. He was not seeking revenge. He still wanted to take something from Lu Ming. Lu Ming made a judgment instantly. What was it? Lu Ming's mind was racing. Don't waste your breath on him. Let's complete the mission first. The skinny middle-aged man shouted from behind, exuding a terrifying killing intent. Buzz! A terrifying saber light slashed toward Lu Ming. "Qiuqiu, I'll leave it to you." Lu Ming waved his hand and Qiuqiu flew behind him. "Just leave the 2 first-level Divine King realm fellows to me." Qiuqiu's voice rang in Lu Ming's mind. Then, its body swelled up and turned into a huge metal ball, charging forward. Thump! Qiuqiu's saber light was shattered by Qiuqiu's attack. It didn't stop and charged toward the skinny middle-aged man. The skinny middle-aged man was shocked. He didn't expect that his attack would be destroyed by a metal ball. "Die!" Qiuqiu shouted loudly. Its huge body pressed down like a mountain. "Get lost!" The skinny middle-aged man reacted and slashed out with his saber. Thump! This blade struck Qiuqiu's body, but it didn't split Qiuqiu's body apart as he had expected. Instead, it was his own body that trembled violently and he retreated repeatedly, his arm numb. "Kill, kill, kill!" Qiuqiu stretched out 2 tentacles, which turned into 2 battle sabers, and madly slashed toward the skinny middle-aged man. In an instant, he had slashed out hundreds of times. The skinny middle-aged man fought back with all his might. Thump thump thump, the 2 of them collided continuously, but the skinny middle-aged man was completely outmatched. He blocked a few moves with all his might before Qiuqiu slashed him horizontally. His body was cut in 2 and he almost died. Damn it, how is this possible? At this moment, the Divine King in front of Lu Ming seemed to have woken up from a dream and was shouting loudly. "Kill, quickly kill that brat." The skinny man was cut in half by Qiuqiu, but he didn't die. He roared loudly at this moment. "Die!" The King of Gods in front of Lu Ming shouted and attacked. A terrifying saber light slashed at Lu Ming. Moon slaying. Lu Ming waved his long spear, exploding all his strength and slashing out. Thump! Lu Ming felt as if he had been hit by an archaic divine mountain. His body shook violently. His body, which was hundreds of meters tall, was forced to retreat. He felt the qi and blood in his body churning and he spat out a mouthful of blood. A divine king was much more powerful than a divine realm expert and even a half-step divine king. Lu Ming was no match for a divine king with his current cultivation base. The moment Lu Ming retreated, Qiu Yu, Wu Ming, and Wu Yu were exposed to the other party. "I'll kill the 3 of you first." The other party shouted coldly and slashed out. A terrifying blood-red blade light slashed towards Qiu Yu and the other 2. If they were hit, they would definitely die with their cultivation. "Ball ball," Lu Ming roared. "Leave it to me." Qiuqiu opened its mouth, and then bolts of lightning spread out from its round body. A bolt of lightning as thick as an arm burst forth and charged toward the divine king in front of Lu Ming. The speed of the lightning was extremely fast. In a flash, it arrived first and bombarded the opponent's saber light. With a pft, the opponent's saber light was extinguished. The lightning did not stop and bombarded the opponent's body. Ah! A shrill scream was heard, and then there was no more sound. When the lightning disappeared, all that could be seen was a charred corpse floating in the air. There was no sign of life at all. The next moment, the charred corpse fell to the ground. He was dead. A god king had died just like that. At this moment, the skinny man and the other men in blood-red robes had a drastic change in their expressions. To kill a god king with a single move, what kind of cultivation was this? "Let's go!" The skinny middle-aged man shouted and half of his body retreated in an attempt to escape. "Did I let you go? Die!" Qiuqiu's voice rang out as it slashed out with its saber. This blade carried traces of lightning. The scrawny man let out a blood-curdling screech and followed in the footsteps of the previous god king, being struck into a charred corpse. Yet another god king had died. The 12 half-step Divine King Realm men in blood-red robes were shocked and ran away in all directions. If you want to escape, then stay behind. Lu Ming shouted coldly. He cast the 9 heavenly Kunpeng technique and chased after his opponent. At the same time, Xiaoqiu also chased after it. It opened its mouth, and bolts of lightning shot out like an electric net. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know and report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2976 Full of doubts. Please continue reading on Oxville. Omicron M. The power of the lightning that Xiaoqiu spat out from its mouth was truly shocking. It charged forward like an electric net. The 3 men in blood-red robes were swept away, and their bodies turned into ashes. At the same time, Lu Ming brandished his long spear and shot out thousands of spearlights at the people in blood-red robes who were trying to escape, blocking their path. Then, Xiaoqiu arrived and killed a few more people. At this moment, Wu Ming and Wu Yu were completely dumbfounded. This battle situation had turned around too quickly. Initially, they had lost all hope. The enemy had sent 12 half-step Divine Kings and 2 Divine Kings. With such a lineup, they were sure that they would die. He had never expected that Lu Ming would suddenly throw out a metal ball that was so powerful. In just a few moves, he had finished off the 2 opposing Divine Kings. A Divine King metallic life form. Wu Ming and Wu Yu muttered, their hearts still unable to calm down. Xiaoqiu, leave him alive. At this moment, Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Xiaoqiu. All right. Xiaoqiu responded. Its 2 tentacles turned into 2 huge hammers and rushed to the head of a man in a long robe with blood-red edges. The hammers smashed down. Although the man in the blood-red robe tried his best to resist, how could he resist Xiaoqiu's power with his strength? Even Divine Kings of the same level couldn't resist Xiaoqiu's attack. Boom! The man in the blood-red robe was smashed to the ground like a meteorite, crushing a mountain. A huge pit appeared on the ground, and the man was lying in the pit, twitching and spitting out blood. He was half dead and could not move. Then, Xiaoqiu charged at another man in a long robe with blood-colored edges. With Lu Ming's obstruction and Xiaoqiu's astonishing speed, the people in the long robes could not escape at all. Thump! Boom! One by one, Xiaoqiu hammered the remaining 6 men in blood-red robes to the ground. They were all embedded in the ground, half dead. 12 half-step Divine Kings and 2 Divine Kings, done. How is it? Lu Ming, amazing, right? Xiaoqiu's body shrunk and it flew in front of Lu Ming, looking like it was asking for credit. Amazing, amazing, absolutely amazing. Lu Ming was in awe. He was really in awe. Xiaoqiu's combat strength was becoming more and more amazing. Those who could reach the Divine King realm were all heaven's favorites with great strength. However, the 2 Divine Kings of the other side were completely suppressed by Xiaoqiu and were unable to retaliate at all. Lu Ming speculated that Xiaoqiu's strength was definitely able to contend with an ordinary second-stage Divine King. If it were to go all out, it might be able to compete with a third-stage Divine King. It should be known that it was much more difficult to fight above one's realm at the King God realm than at the Heavenly God realm, True God realm, and Ethereal God realm. Many people who were able to fight against those at a higher level than them were unable to do so once they reached the God King realm. After chatting with Xiaoqiu for a while, Lu Ming's body transformed into the size of a normal person. He took a step forward and landed beside a man in a long robe with blood-red edges. Tell me, who sent you? If you tell me, I can spare your life. Lu Ming said. If you want to kill me, then kill me. Don't even think about getting a single word out of me. The other party said coldly. You're not afraid of death. Lu Ming's voice was even colder. If you want to kill, then kill. The other party was expressionless and showed no fear. Pfft! Lu Ming was very straightforward. With a flick of his finger, a ray of spear light burst out and pierced the person's glabella, killing him. Then, in a flash, he appeared beside the next man in the blood-red robe. "Speak, who sent you?" Lu Ming continued to ask. The man had seen everything that had happened, but there was no fear in his eyes. He said with a wooden expression, "If you want to kill me, then kill me. Don't even think about getting a single word out of my mouth." The answer was exactly the same as the previous person. "Do you think I can't do anything if you don't answer?" Lu Ming snorted coldly. Divine energy gushed out and he controlled the person. Then, he cast a soul-searching technique to find the answer from the person's soul. However, when Lu Ming's spiritual consciousness approached the other party's soul suddenly glowed and emitted powerful fluctuations. Not good. Lu Ming was shocked. He quickly withdrew his spiritual sense. The moment he withdrew his spiritual sense, the other party's head exploded like a watermelon with a bang. Self-destruct. Lu Ming's face was gloomy. A self-destruction restriction had been set up in the other party's soul. Once another person's soul got close, the other party's soul would self-destruct. Lu Ming, it's no use. These are men of sacrifice trained by the great aristocratic families. There's a self-destruction restriction in their souls. It's impossible to find out any information by soul-searching. At this moment, Wu Ming, Wu Yu and Xiao Yu flew over. Men of sacrifice trained by great families? Which great families train suicide soldiers? Lu Ming asked. Some of the big aristocratic families in the 9 Absolute Heavenly King Mansion have trained death warriors to carry out some shady missions in secret. Our Wu family has them too. Wu Ming said. That's right, and these men of sacrifice are extremely well hidden. There's no way to tell which clan they belong to. Wang Chong said. Wu Yu replied. Let's try again. Lu Ming was still unwilling to give up. He began interrogating the remaining 4 men in the blood-red robes. However, the other party did not say a word. If he were to search the soul, the other party's soul would explode. In the end, Lu Ming had no choice but to finish off the rest of the men in blood-red robes. What a pity. Lu Ming sighed softly. He had a feeling that these men of sacrifice were here for something on him. Lu Ming speculated that it was most likely the storage ring of the Night Demon Lord. If it's really for the Night Demon King's storage ring, it's very likely to be related to the 9 Absolute Divine Crystal being stolen. There might be clues in the Night Demon King's storage ring, so they want to take it back. Lu Ming kept thinking, but he had more doubts. He had already checked the Night Demon Lord's storage ring, but he had found nothing. Originally, he wanted to find out who had sent them to kill him. If he could find the person behind it, he might be able to find the person who had stolen the 9 Absolute Divine Crystal. Unfortunately, all the clues were gone. Looks like he'll have to be more careful in the future. This time, it's all thanks to Qiu. Lu Ming was secretly glad. He had to admit that he was quite lucky. Fortunately, Qiu had woken up before this and its strength had greatly improved. Otherwise, he would really be in danger. Lu Ming, let's hurry to the Universal Camp. There are many experts in the Universal Camp. No matter which organization it is, they wouldn't dare to send people to commit murder in the Universal Camp. Wu Ming said. All right. Lu Ming nodded. Then, the 4 of them set off for the Universal Camp. Not long after Lu Ming and the other 3 left, a few black-robed men appeared. When the black-robed men saw the corpses on the ground, they were dumbfounded. What's going on? What was going on? Even a god king was killed. That brat is definitely not that strong. One of the black-robed men roared. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Entering the Universal Camp. Please continue reading on Oxville. Omicron M. The two black-robed men were truly shocked by the scene in front of them. Could it be that the Wu family secretly sent experts to protect them? The other black-robed man guessed. Yes, that must be the case. That damned Wu family. One of the black-robed men roared. They thought that the Wu family had sent an expert to protect Lu Ming and the rest in secret. That was why the men of sacrifice they had sent were all annihilated. It's too late to continue sending experts to kill them. What should we do? It'll be hard to make a move once they enter the Universal Camp. A black-robed man said. We can only report the situation to the higher-ups and ask for his lord's decision. However, even if he enters the Universal Camp, don't think that he's safe. Let's go. With a flash, the black-robed men disappeared without a trace. Lu Ming and the rest were even more careful along the way. Fortunately, they did not encounter any danger. Not long after, they finally arrived at the Universal Camp. This is the Universal Camp? Lu Ming looked at the barren land in front of him and was somewhat stunned. This is all an illusion. There's a formation in front of us. Let's continue. Wu Ming said. The four of them continued forward and stepped into the barren land. At this moment, the space around Lu Ming and the rest suddenly rippled. Then, two white-haired elders suddenly appeared. This is the Star Sky Camp. Why have four little kids come here? An old man said. Two seniors were here to join the Universal Camp. Wu Ming bowed respectfully. Oh? Do you have any proof? The old man who spoke earlier continued. Senior, please take a look. Then, Lu Ming and the other three took out the Demon King and Demon Master tokens. One of the elders waved his hand, and the tokens in the four people's hands were collected. After carefully identifying them, he said, It's the proof for one of the assessments. Congratulations on joining the Universal Camp. With that, he waved his hand, and space fluctuated. Then, a door of light appeared out of thin air. Go in. The two old men waved their hands. Many thanks, Senior. Lu Ming and the other three cupped their fists and stepped into the light door. After stepping through the door of light, Lu Ming and the rest arrived at a square. What a dense divine qi! As soon as he entered, Lu Ming could feel that the divine qi here was much stronger than outside. Then, Lu Ming sized him up. There were already many people gathered in the square. At a glance, there were a few hundred people. It seems like we're late. The others are already here. Wu Yue said. It was obvious that these people were the same as Lu Ming and the rest. They were newcomers who had just joined the Universal Camp. It's them. Lu Ming swept his gaze and saw some familiar faces. For example, the blood-robed young man, Wu Shui, and the others he had met on Magic City Mountain. Kid, it's you. Wu Shui and the rest also saw Lu Ming and looked at him with unfriendly eyes. Huh, we're really fated to meet here again. Lu Ming smiled. Hee hee, it's fate. Kid, we'll see what happens next. Wu Shui's senior brother, the blood-soaked youth, said coldly. You're still lacking. Lu Ming said in disdain. Arrogant. Wu Shui's senior brother shouted coldly, his eyes filled with killing intent. He could not fight here and he was indeed not Lu Ming's match. However, this was the Universal Camp and many of his senior and junior brothers were in the Universal Camp. He would definitely teach Lu Ming a lesson in the future. Lu Ming smiled faintly and could not be bothered with these people. He walked to the side with Qiu Yu, Wu Ming, Wu Yu, and the rest and waited quietly. Another hour passed, and a dozen more people arrived. At this time, a shadow flashed in the sky, and a burly man in linen clothes appeared. "Welcome to the Universal Unit. Now, follow me, I'll arrange your accommodation," the burly man said. "I'll have to trouble Senior." Some people cupped their fists. Hee hee. The burly man laughed meaningfully, then turned around and left, followed by the others. After flying past the square, a huge mountain appeared in front of them. This peak covered a vast area and was very high, at least hundreds of thousands of feet high. From a distance, one could see many buildings built on the peak. In the distance, the burly man landed on the ground, followed by everyone else. With that mountain as the center, 100,000 miles around it is the core area of the Universal Camp. In the future, all of you will be cultivating and resting within that area. The burly man said. Yes. Many people nodded. Also, let me tell you. All new members are not allowed to fly in that area. You can only walk. Do you understand? The burly man said. You can't fly? Could it be that there's a flight prohibiting formation there? Someone asked. No, there's no space ceiling formation inside. Even a hollow spirit realm cultivator can fly freely. However, no flying is allowed. That's the rule. At this point, the burly man paused for a moment and sneered, whoever breaks the rules will be immediately expelled from the Universal Camp and will never be hired again. Expelled from the Universal Camp forever? Many people's expressions changed. There was a rule in the Great Void Holy Dynasty that if one wanted to enter the core grounds of the Great Void Holy Dynasty to cultivate, one must be recommended by the Universal Camp before one could enter. In the future, if he wanted to climb up and obtain status and fame in the Great Void Holy Dynasty, he had to go through this step. If they were expelled from the Universal Camp, they would lose the opportunity to cultivate in the core grounds of the Great Void Holy Dynasty. Not only that, even if their cultivations were higher in the future, it would be difficult for them to gain any reputation in the Great Void Holy Dynasty. It wasn't easy for them to join the Star Sky Camp, so they definitely wouldn't allow themselves to be expelled. He couldn't fly. Many people firmly remembered this in their hearts. Alright, follow me. After the burly man finished speaking, he strode forward. Although they couldn't fly and could only walk on foot, they were still as fast as lightning even on foot with their cultivation. After a while, they entered the range of 100,000 miles from the mountain. The closer they got to the peak, the denser the divine chi was. There was even a strange fluctuation in the space that could clear one's mind and active thoughts. I feel like I can comprehend divine skills and cultivate secret techniques much faster here. Me too. It's said that the mountain peak is called Star Peak. At the top of Star Peak, there's a supreme treasure that is constantly emitting a strange fluctuation. Under the influence of this fluctuation, one's perception will become much stronger. It's true. Some people were discussing in low voices, their faces filled with excitement. I hope you can still laugh after this. The burly man chuckled. What do you mean? Many of them looked at each other in dismay after hearing the burly man's words. The burly man didn't answer and continued to move forward. Soon, they were about to reach the foot of the mountain. Buzz. And NBSP whoosh. At this moment, there was a sound above their heads. A few young men whizzed past them. There's a newcomer. Time really flies. The few young men chatted. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2978 Stinky Residents. Please continue reading on Oxville. Omicron M. Looking at the few young men flying above them, many people were confused. Senior, how can they fly? A young man asked curiously. They can fly because they live on it. The burly man pointed at the building on the mountain peak. Starting from the middle of the mountain, there were a few buildings. There were grand palaces and elegant courtyards. Live on top of that? What do you mean by that? Don't we live up there? Many young men were puzzled. Correct. You indeed don't live there, because you don't have the qualifications. The burly man said. Not qualified? Where are we going to stay? Someone asked. Follow me. The burly man did not answer. He smiled and continued forward. Everyone was curious and followed closely behind. After they had crossed a few small hills, a foul smell hit them in the face. So stinky. Some of the women were frowning and looked disgusted. All of you will be staying there. The burly man pointed to the front. Everyone looked over and saw a wide area in front of them. There were many small houses, which were very simple and crude. They were only casually built with wood. Most importantly, around these wooden houses, there was a farm, raising many strange desolate beasts. The source of the stench was the mixture of the waste and urine of these desolate beasts. What? We're living in this kind of place. Impossible, I'm not staying. Is this kind of trash for people to live in? A few of the women screamed. It's fine if you don't want to stay, but get lost. The burly man said coldly. The few women shut up, but their eyes turned, obviously thinking of a solution. I'm telling you, you have to stay here even if you don't want to. You can't stay anywhere else. These are the rules. If you break them, you'll be expelled from the universal camp forever. The burly man said coldly. Some of the women's faces were pale, and some of the men were frowning. Some people did have such an idea just now and simply gave up. It would be the same if they found a clean place to cultivate. However, he had to stay there. This was the rule. Those who were able to join the universal camp were almost all top geniuses who had mastered divine-grade divine power. In the Qin Tian star region, they were people at the divine sun level. 90% of such people came from big forces or big families. When had they ever lived in such a place? Many of them furrowed their brows. They didn't expect that they would have to stay in such a place when they came to the universal camp. Furthermore, none of the people who had joined the universal camp in the past had ever mentioned that there was such a rule in the universal camp. Also, I'm warning you all. The rules of the universal camp must never be leaked out. If you do, you'll be expelled from the universal camp and never allowed to enter again. The burly man said. Many young women's faces were pale, and many people's mouths were bitter. Senior, how do I get to live up there? Someone pointed at the buildings on the mountain peak and asked. The buildings here were at the foot of the mountain. When compared to the buildings on the mountainside, they were like heaven and earth. If you want to live there, it's very simple. You have to challenge them. As long as you can defeat the people above, you can take over and cultivate there. At the same time, you can fly freely in this area. The burly man said. This made many people's eyes burn with passion. As long as he defeated the person living above him, he would be able to replace him. It was obvious that the buildings on the mountain peak were not only much better than at the foot of the mountain, but they were also closer to the top of the mountain. The influence of the treasures at the top of the star peak would be greater, and one's comprehension ability would be better. Furthermore, it could even fly. They could obviously fly, but they couldn't. They could only watch others looking down at them from above. That kind of feeling was extremely sullen. I'm going to challenge him. A young woman shouted, and a powerful aura emanated from her body. 8th level celestial deity. This lady had a cultivation of the 8th level heavenly deity realm and was in control of the divine grade divine power. If she was placed in the Qin heaven star region, she would be an unrivaled genius. However, it was very normal here. Everyone's faces were calm, and they were not surprised at all. In the 9 absolute heavenly king manner, the basic condition to be called a heaven's favorite was to control divine grade divine power. Those who did not control divine grade divine power could not be called geniuses. I'm also going to challenge him. I want one too. Who's going to live in this damn place? People kept shouting. These people were all geniuses in the outside world. They were 1 in a billion and were full of confidence in themselves. You can't challenge me now. You have to stay in those houses for 7 days. After 7 days, you can challenge me. The burly man said coldly. What? Do I have to stay for 7 days? What kind of rule is this? No, I won't stay there. Senior, can you be lenient? In 7 days, I'll challenge the higher floors and stay there. Many people were wailing. You don't have to stay. Sure, but please go back and stay in your palace courtyard. The burly man said indifferently and then stepped forward. Those who were wailing heaved a long sigh. They could only bear with it for now. Cut the crap and follow me. Well, each choose a room and complete it within the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. If you're not done after that, I'll personally send you home. The burly man said. Everyone sighed and could only follow him to choose a room. Some of them wanted to choose the rooms that were further away from the farm and had a lighter smell, but they were disappointed. These rooms were built right in the middle of the farm, and they were all identical. Every single one of them was filled with a terrible stench. Qiuyue, are you used to this? Lu Ming looked at Qiuyue. Young master, don't worry. It's not like Qiuyue hasn't suffered before. Qiuyue smiled. Okay, then pick one. 7 days later, young master will bring you there. Lu Ming smiled. After that, Lu Ming, Qiuyue, Wu Ming, Wu Yu, and the others all picked a room. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, everyone found their rooms and settled down. The burly man chuckled and left. Lu Ming walked into the room. The room was very simple. There was only a bed and a wooden table. In the room, there was a foul smell. Even Lu Ming could not help but frown. Exhaling, Lu Ming sat cross-legged and cultivated in silence. 7 days would pass by very quickly, so it didn't matter anymore. However, even if he could bear it, some people couldn't. It hadn't even been a day, and someone was already roaring. Damn it, what the hell is this place? I'm going to kill my way up in 7 days. I also want to kill my way up. Some people roared, their voices reverberating in the area. Lu Ming smiled faintly. It seemed that many people had the same thoughts as him. However, was it really that easy to kill his way up? Lu Ming felt that it would not be easy. This was because he had just observed that there were many such wooden houses before they moved in, and they were all occupied. Those people were clearly from the universal camp. The people who had joined in the past were still living here. It was clear that it would not be easy to kill their way up. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know and report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2981 Challenge begins. Please continue reading on Oxville. Omicron M. There were originally many wooden houses here, but they were all occupied. This meant that many of the geniuses who had entered the universal camp were still living here. Those who were able to enter the universal camp weren't weak. If it was so easy to kill their way up, those people would have already done so. 7 days passed in the blink of an eye. On the 8th day, voices began to echo out. Kill our way up, I want to live up there. I've had enough of this place. Then, one figure after another rushed up Star Peak along the mountain road. Brother Lu, Lady Qiuyue, let's go and take a look. Wu Ming and Wu Yu walked over and said. All right. Lu Ming nodded. Together with Qiuyu, they followed the mountain path and rushed up the mountain. Hee, these newbies are going up to challenge him. A few figures walked out of a few wooden houses. These people were the old men who had joined the universal camp in the past. They've just joined, and they're all so full of themselves. They don't know the immensity of the heavens and earth. There's going to be a show to watch. Let's go and take a look. The universal camp hasn't been this lively in a long time. Some of the older members of the universal camp laughed casually as they followed behind and headed up the mountain. The star peak was very high. Even at the waist of the mountain, it was more than 1,000,000 feet high. However, to Lu Ming and the group, this was a piece of cake. Soon, they arrived at the mountainside. On the mountainside, there were courtyards built. The air was dense and the fragrance of flowers assailed the nose. It was a refreshing feeling, completely different from the one at the foot of the mountain. Many people's eyes were burning with passion. They swore that they would definitely get a courtyard this time. The people in the courtyard, get out here. A burly young man was the most anxious. He immediately appeared in front of a courtyard and shouted. Who's shouting so loudly? You're looking for death. A cold voice came from the courtyard. Then, the door opened, and a cold-looking young man walked out. The cold-looking young man swept his gaze across Lu Ming and the rest, and his eyes fell on the burly young man. He said with a hint of disdain, "Are you new? So what if he's new? Let me tell you, I've taken a fancy to your courtyard and am challenging you now. Do you dare to accept the challenge? If you don't dare, then quickly get lost." The burly young man shouted with confidence. You want to challenge me? Hee, very well, make your move. If you can defeat me, you can have this courtyard. The cold-looking young man looked relaxed, as if he did not take the burly young man seriously at all. Presumptuous. Sky-shaking Saint Elephant, suppress him. The burly young man shouted, and a powerful aura burst out from his body. 8th level celestial deity. The burly young man's cultivation had shockingly reached the 8th level celestial deity. Needless to say, his divine power was also divine-grade divine power. Divine power burst forth. As the burly young man pushed out his palms, a giant elephant 10,000 meters tall appeared and stomped toward the cold young man. Humph, he's just a pretty boy. The cold-looking young man said coldly. His figure suddenly flashed and he rushed out like an eagle. Chi-la. Then, the cold-looking young man waved his hand and clawed out. His claws were very small compared to the giant elephant, but when the sharp claws grabbed the giant elephant, a terrifying power burst out. Bang! The giant elephant's body exploded. How is that possible, what? The burly young man was shocked. He didn't expect that his ultimate move would be broken so easily. Buzz! After the cold-looking young man defeated the giant elephant, he did not stop. In a flash, he appeared above the burly young man and clawed down. The burly young man's expression changed drastically. He swung his fists with all his might, and the sound of an elephant's trumpeting could be heard. He wanted to form a giant elephant again to fight against the cold young man. However, the power from the cold youth's claw was extremely sharp and it pierced through the elephant. Moreover, the burly young man's defense was like tofu in the hands of the cold young man. Pfft! The cold-looking young man's claw landed heavily on the burly young man's shoulder. The burly young man let out a blood-curdling screech as the bone armor on his shoulder was broken, and his bones and blood splattered everywhere. Then, the cold-looking young man swung his arm and smashed the burly young man to the ground. Boom! The ground trembled, and the burly young man screamed. His body bounced up like a ball and then fell back down. He twitched on the ground and was seriously injured. CSISI, many people gasped. The burly young man's combat strength was definitely not weak. He was at the 8th level of the heavenly deity realm. Among the new recruits of the universal camp, he was definitely above average. However, in the hands of the cold young man, he couldn't even withstand a single blow. 9th level celestial deity, the other party's cultivation has already reached 9th level celestial deity. It can't be that the people staying in these courtyards all have 9th level celestial deity cultivation, right? At the thought of this, many people's faces turned ugly. If the people who stayed here were all at the 9th level heavenly deity realm, then those below the 9th level heavenly deity realm would not be able to challenge them. Wouldn't that mean that they would have to stay at the foot of the mountain for a very long time? When they thought of the stench at the foot of the mountain, many people felt nauseated and almost vomited. How did this happen? Damn it! Many people roared in anger, their hearts turning cold. 9th level celestial deity, is it really as simple as just being a 9th level celestial deity? You're really naive. Some of the older members sneered. Who else wants to challenge me, Ice Hawk? Hurry up and make your move. I don't have that much time to waste with you. The cold-looking young man scanned the crowd and said coldly. His name was Ice Hawk, and he lived up to his name. Many people looked at each other, measuring their own strength, and finally shook their heads helplessly. If one's combat strength couldn't surpass the burly youths, they would only be looking for a beating. I'll do it. At this time, a sonorous voice was heard, and a black-robed young man stepped out. This person was carrying a long sword on his back, like a divine sword that had been unsheathed. It's him. Lu Ming's eyes flickered as he recognized this person. He was one of the 4 9th-tier celestial deity prodigies who had attacked the Night Demon King at demonic capital mountain, a swordsman. It's Xue Dong, he's about to make a move. Xue Dong has a 9th level celestial deity cultivation. Furthermore, he's a sword cultivator. He has the chance to defeat the other party. Seeing Xue Dong make his move, some people's eyes lit up. If Xue Dong could defeat the other, it would bring them a lot of hope. Huhu, an ordinary 9th level celestial deity, also wants to defeat Ice Hawk. Truly delusional. An old member sneered. Both of you are 9th level heavenly deities, and Xue Dong is a sword cultivator who is known for his attack power. How do you know that Xue Dong can't defeat Ice Hawk? A new member said unhappily. Ignorant, just watch and you'll know. The old member said in disdain. Make your move. Show me your strongest move. Otherwise, you won't have a chance when I make my move. Leng Ying said coldly. Even in front of Xue Dong, his face was still full of contempt. Buzz. Xue Dong was very direct. He attacked right away. He unsheathed his long sword and a bright and sharp sword light cut through the void, slashing towards Leng Ying. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Origin Divine Power Factor. Please continue reading on Oxville. Omicron M. Xue Dong's sword was extremely sharp. In an instant, it sliced through the air and headed towards Leng Ying's chest. However, in the face of Xue Dong's terrifying attack, Leng Ying's expression was still relaxed. He stretched out a hand and clawed out. Chi-chi, the sharp sound of air being cut rang out. Leng Ying's claw had completely transformed into a divine eagle's claw and grabbed Xue Dong's combat sword. Buzz! Sparks flew in all directions, the divine eagle cried out, and the sword light trembled continuously. In the next moment, Xue Dong's sword light actually shattered, and a figure retreated rapidly, retreating hundreds of meters before he could stabilize himself. The person who retreated was Xue Dong, while Leng Ying's figure remained unmoving. Many people were shocked. How did this happen? Xue Dong and Leng Ying were both 9th level heavenly deities, and Xue Dong was a sword cultivator who specialized in attacks. Yet, he was actually forced back by Leng Ying in a head-on collision. What was going on? Xue Dong's eyes also became serious. The aura on his body became stronger. Sword will filled the sky and countless tiny sword chi wandered around him. Lone Star Sword of Destruction. Xue Dong let out a low growl. He struck out with his sword again, sending out countless sword chi. But the next moment, the countless sword chi gathered together and turned into a sword light as thick as a mountain, slashing towards Leng Ying. Did you use your ultimate move? This move is more decent. Leng Ying's cold voice rang out. Then, his figure soared into the sky. He circulated his divine power and seemed to have completely transformed into a divine eagle. His wings were like blades as he flapped them. Boom! 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 The violent energy collided with each other, creating thousands of energy waves. In an instant, there were hundreds of explosions. In the end, the sword light trembled and shattered in the air. Then, a divine eagle flashed and disappeared. Following that, a figure cried out in pain and retreated. Boom! Xue Dong's body crashed heavily onto the mountain peak and he spat out a large mouthful of blood. His chest had been torn open, and there were a few bloody holes. They were clearly caused by the eagle's claws. He was defeated. The 9th-level celestial deity sword Xiao Xuedong had only exchanged 2 moves and was already defeated. Why? Many of the new members' faces were pale and they couldn't believe it. They were at the same level, and they both had divine-grade divine power. Why did Xuedong lose so badly? It's divine power. His divine power is almost at the stage of awakening the origin factor. Suddenly, someone shouted. What? The origin factor? Someone exclaimed. However, there were some people who were stunned. What was the origin factor? What is the origin factor? Lu Ming muttered. He had never heard of it before. Brother Lu, you don't know about the origin factor? Wu Ming looked at Lu Ming and asked. I don't know, Brother Wu. What is the origin factor? Lu Ming started to shake his head and continued asking. The origin factor is the origin of a type of divine power. We have to start from the very beginning of divine power. Brother Lu, you should know that the primeval universe has been divided into 2 eras since the beginning of time, right? Wu Ming said. Yeah, I know. 2 eras. The earliest one was the incipient God realm and the later one was the Heaven Palace era. Lu Ming nodded. He had already read about this in the ancient records. The long history of the primal universe was divided into the incipient God realm era and the Heaven Palace era. The incipient God realm was the beginning of the universe. At that time, the world had given birth to so many powerful existences. They were called the incipient God realm or the original God realm. The ancient God clan was also one of the incipient God realm experts. And now, it was the later stage of the Heavenly Palace era. In the incipient God realm, the powerful existences that were born naturally could control God power. They had different kinds of God power, and those God powers were all extremely powerful. They were called the origin God power. The God power of today can't be compared to them. Wu Ming said. Even divine-grade divine power can't? Lu Ming asked. No, far from it. And NBSP Wu Ming shook his head and said, divine-grade divine power can't be compared to origin divine power at all. In terms of quality, it's like the difference between rotten wood and gold. Even in the beginning of the Heaven Palace era, divine-grade divine power was the most basic divine power, not to mention the incipient God era. Anyone who cultivated it with some talent could control divine-grade divine power. However, as time passed, the divine chi of the primeval universe became thinner and thinner, and the origin became rarer and rarer. The cultivators were scattered all over the universe, so it became more and more difficult to control high-quality divine power. In the end, it evolved into divine-grade divine power, sacred-grade divine power, king-grade divine power, and ordinary divine power. Wu Ming spoke with fervor and assurance. He was born in a great aristocratic family and knew a lot about the history of the desolate universe. Lu Ming was secretly shocked. He did not expect that at the beginning of the era of the Heavenly Palace, the divine energy that a cultivator controlled was a divine-grade divine energy. But what did this have to do with the origin factor of Shen power? Lu Ming did not say anything and waited for Wu Ming to continue. And NBSP as expected, Wu Ming continued, strictly speaking, sacred-grade divine power, king-grade divine power, and ordinary divine power are all unqualified divine powers. These divine powers have very limited potential. Cultivating to the divine king realm is already the limit. It's impossible to continue breaking through. The reason is that it is impossible to awaken the origin factor in this divine power. Only divine-grade divine power can awaken the origin factor. In truth, every kind of divine-grade divine power is evolved from the original origin divine power. In the end, every kind of divine-grade divine power can find a corresponding origin divine power. Therefore, as long as one continuously awakens the origin factor, in the end, divine-grade divine power can be transformed into the corresponding origin divine power. One can control the origin and have infinite power. Wu Ming said. At this point, his eyes were filled with a burning flame. Then how can I awaken the origin factor? Lu Ming asked again. His heart was burning. Jing Yu didn't leave behind any of this knowledge, and the universe Thousand Dao Arts didn't record it either. To comprehend and use it, I have to continuously comprehend and control the divine-grade divine power and use it continuously. When I reach a certain level, I will naturally be able to activate the origin factor. Wu Ming said. In that case, Leng Ying has activated the origin factor? Lu Ming said. That's impossible. The origin factor is not that easy to activate. It's terrifyingly difficult. I'm afraid not even 1 out of 100 geniuses who can control divine-grade divine power can activate it. The chances will only be higher if one's cultivation has reached the upper echelons of the divine king realm. I estimate that Leng Ying is only close to activating his origin factor. Even so, his divine power will become extremely strong and powerful. Wu Ming said. Lu Ming nodded. He had a general understanding of the origin factor of divine power. It seemed that his previous understanding of Shen power had been wrong. Every kind of divine-grade divine power had great potential to be unearthed. Then it seems that I've taken the wrong path of cultivation. Lu Ming muttered. And NBSP he had 10 types of divine power in his body, but only 2 were divine-grade divine power. According to Wu Ming, other than divine-grade divine power, no matter if it was sacred-grade, king-grade, or ordinary divine power, they were all incomplete and had limited potential. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2981 Provocation. Please continue reading on Oxville. Omicron M. Other than divine-grade divine power, the potential of the other divine powers was limited. If they could not awaken the origin factor, then continuing to cultivate would be meaningless. It would just be a waste of time. It seems that I have to find a chance to find a divine-grade divine skill with similar attributes to the divine power and cultivate it. Then, I can merge the divine fire into the divine-grade divine power's divine fire. Lu Ming pondered. As long as one cultivated divine-grade divine power with similar attributes, one could fuse with those divine-grade, king-grade, and ordinary divine power. Of course, Lu Ming could disperse it himself. However, it would be a waste. Lu Ming had spent a lot of effort to cultivate each divine energy. The Starry Sky Camp is the gathering place for the paragons of the 9 absolute heavenly king mansion. There should be no lack of divine-grade divine arts and techniques, right? Lu Ming pondered. Even a place like the Qin Heaven Star Domain could offer several divine-grade divine techniques and wondrous arts. The 9 ultimate heavenly king manor definitely did not lack divine-grade divine techniques and wondrous arts. After all, any one of the paragons here could control divine-grade divine power. Most of the Heaven's Pride experts had relied on divine-grade divine arts and wondrous techniques to cultivate. While Lu Ming and Wu Mingyi were discussing, the others were also discussing fervently. They looked at Leng Ying with respect. Even if Leng Ying had not awakened the origin factor of Shen power, he was close to it. He was invincible among his peers. No wonder Xue Dong had lost so badly. Who still wants my courtyard? Hurry up and fight, don't waste my time. Leng Ying's gaze swept across the crowd. Many people couldn't help but lower their heads when they were swept by his sharp gaze. No one fought. Xue Dong's strength was definitely at the top among this batch of new members. If even he couldn't beat him, anyone else would just be looking for a beating. I don't believe that the people who live up there are all so strong. Suddenly, a voice rang out, and many people's eyes lit up again. That's right, maybe they were just unlucky to have chosen a strong person. Not everyone else had the same cultivation. Buzz. With a flash, a young man arrived in front of another courtyard. You want to challenge me? The owner of the courtyard had long been alerted by the commotion outside. At this moment, he was lazily leaning against the door and asking. Not bad, I've taken a fancy to your courtyard. The challenging youth said, the aura of a 9th-level celestial deity suffused from his body. This was a genius who was not weaker than Xue Dong. Make your move. The lazy-looking young man said lazily. Thunderclap fist. The young man made his move. He waved his fist, and lightning filled the sky. The void trembled, and the power was shocking. However, after a few moves, the lightning dispersed and the young man who challenged him followed in Xue Dong's footsteps and was severely injured. He was defeated again. So strong. This person's strength is also very strong. He is also an existence close to awakening the factor of the origin divine power. Someone exclaimed. The others' faces turned pale. The second person was also this strong? It couldn't be that all the people living up there were so strong and close to awakening the divine power factor, right? If that was the case, no one would be able to succeed in the challenge today. I don't believe it, continue, someone growled and continued to challenge people from other courtyards. However, it turned out that their guess was right. The geniuses living here were all shockingly powerful. They were all close to awakening the origin divine power factor and had crushed them in a crushing manner. In the end, no one continued to challenge. Don't tell me that we're going to stay down there forever. No, I want to go home. There was a wave of wailing at the scene. Of course, it was only for a short while. No one really wanted to go home or quit. If they were to withdraw because of such a reason, even if they returned to their respective forces and families, they would most likely be spurned and never be able to stand out. I'd better work hard on my cultivation and try to awaken the divine force factor as soon as possible. Or perhaps I can break through to the half-step divine king realm as soon as possible. That way, we can kill our way up here. Yup. Many people sighed and finally understood how terrifying the geniuses of the starry sky were. Some people wanted to retreat. Wait. All of a sudden, a cold voice was heard. An aura spread toward Lu Ming and finally landed on Xiao Yu. Lu Ming frowned. The owner of the aura was the first person to be challenged, Leng Ying. At this moment, Leng Ying's eyes were burning with evil fire as he stared at Xiao Yu. Boom! Xiao Yu's aura exploded, trying to break through Leng Ying's aura suppression, but she failed. What is this guy trying to do? Some people were moved. Miss, you don't have to go down. You can stay in my courtyard. I just happen to be lacking a maidservant. Icehawk said indifferently, his voice carrying a hint of command. Who wants to be your maid? Dream on. Xiao Yu struggled. You refuse? Icehawk's eyes gleamed with a sharp light. If you live here, you don't have to live in that stinky place down there. Also, when I'm free, I'll guide you in your cultivation. This is a great fortune for you, do you understand? Leng Ying stared at Xiao Yu. As for Lu Ming, Wu Yu, Wu Ming, and the others, he had completely ignored them. Many people looked at Xiao Yu with pity. The crown prince that Icehawk was talking about was nothing more than someone who had taken a fancy to Xiao Yu's beauty and wanted to keep her for his own use. However, Xiao Yu was indeed devastatingly beautiful. The other young men were also tempted by her beauty. Bang! At this moment, Lu Ming took a step forward and landed in front of Xiao Yu. The ground trembled and Leng Ying's aura was dispersed. A murderous glint flashed across Leng Ying's eyes. He finally turned his gaze to Lu Ming. Brat, you want to meddle in other people's business? Icehawk said coldly. What busybody? She's my woman. Tell me, is this a matter of concern? Lu Ming said indifferently. Your woman. Hearing this, the killing intent in Icehawk's eyes grew even stronger. He said, such a beautiful woman actually fell into your hands. What a waste of a heavenly treasure. It makes me very unhappy. And then? Lu Ming said indifferently. Then I'm going to destroy your eyes, die. Icehawk shouted coldly. In a flash, he charged at Lu Ming. His two fingers were like two javelins, aiming for Lu Ming's eyes. Boom! The divine energy in Lu Ming's body circulated at full force. At the same time, he triggered the fourfold combat power of the battle formula. A long spear silently appeared in Lu Ming's hands. The long spear vibrated and two spear rays burst out. Thump! Thump! The spearlight and frigid eagle's fingers collided, resulting in two loud bangs. Lu Ming was forced to take a few steps back. However, Icehawk's figure also drifted backward. What? He blocked it? At the side, the others were shocked. Other than Wu Ming and a few others, the rest found it hard to believe that Lu Ming could actually block Leng Ying's attack and even force him to retreat. Lu Ming was merely a fourth-level celestial deity. What? Leng Ying himself also revealed a shocked expression. He also never expected that a fourth-level celestial deity could erupt with such shocking power. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know and report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Get lost. Please continue reading on Oxville. Omicron M. Kid, you have some strength, but I only used 20% of my strength just now. Now, I'll let you see my true strength. Die! Leng Ying shouted as his aura surged. He circulated his divine power and formed a giant divine eagle around him. Buzz! The cry of a goshawk was heard. The frigid eagle pounced toward Lu Ming, its sharp claws tearing through the air as it tried to grab him. You're not the only one who didn't use your full strength, you're courting death. Lu Ming growled coldly. Then, his body swelled rapidly, turning into a green-armored ancient god that was hundreds of meters tall. Buzz! The long spear trembled and swept out horizontally. It was as if a gale was blowing on the mountain peak. In the next moment, Leng Ying's eagle claws grabbed Lu Ming's huge long spear. Boom! Zzzzzzzzz, the eagle's talons grabbed onto the spear, causing a violent boom and ear-piercing friction sound. Sparks flew in all directions. The two of them clashed for a few seconds before the spear radiance trembled and retracted. However, Icehawk's body was also forced back. He only managed to stabilize himself after retreating tens of thousands of meters. His pair of claws were placed behind his back, trembling slightly to avoid being seen by others. His eyes were filled with shock. Lu Ming's ability had completely exceeded his expectations. What terrifying divine power! The others were also shocked. This included some of the senior members and even the members who lived on Star Peak. They looked at Lu Ming in shock. No one had expected Lu Ming to have such combat strength. Ancient God Body, that's the Ancient God Body. I didn't think that this person would have cultivated the Ancient God Body to such a level. It's amazing. What's even more shocking is that he's only a 4th-level celestial deity. The surrounding area was filled with discussions. He didn't expect that there would be such a powerful heaven's favorite among this batch of newcomers. I really didn't expect that there would be a heaven's favorite like you among the new members this time. You're quite strong. On account of your strength, I won't hold it against you today. You can go. Icehawk said, waving his hand. You're not going to argue? Hee, I didn't say I wouldn't care. Lu Ming sneered. Lu Ming did not intend to let the other party off easily if he wanted to touch his woman. What do you want to do? Icehawk's face darkened. I've taken a fancy to your courtyard. Now, take your things and get lost. Lu Ming said coldly. Lu Ming was initially considering who he should challenge. He did not expect that Leng Ying would take the initiative to provoke him. He would start with him. Brat, don't refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. Leng Ying shouted coldly, his killing intent cold. I like to drink the hard way, so what? If you don't get lost, then I'll make you get lost. Lu Ming shouted coldly and strode towards Leng Ying. The huge long spear pressed down on Leng Ying with the force of Mount Tai. You're looking for death. Leng Ying bellowed. A huge godly eagle formed around him. It carried him and soared into the sky, heading for Lu Ming. Boom! The two of them clashed for the second time. The sky trembled and thousands of chi forces scattered in all directions. Lu Ming's body swayed slightly, but Icehawk's body retreated rapidly. Is this the power of someone who is about to awaken the divine power factor? It's indeed powerful. Lu Ming's mind was racing. He felt that Leng Ying's Shen power was shockingly powerful. His attack power was extremely strong and had almost destroyed his Shen power. If he did not have the 10 types of Shen power and the support of the battle formula, he would not have been able to fight back. Again. Lu Ming shouted and continued to charge at Leng Ying. Bang! Bang! Lu Ming stepped in the air. With every step he took, a 9-clawed divine dragon would dance out. After 7 steps, 7 9-clawed divine dragons were formed and they pounced at Leng Ying. At the same time, Lu Ming's long spear struck down, displaying the second move of the 3 apocalyptic strikes, moon cutting. He activated both his divine skill and secret skill at the same time. The terrifying attack was like a wave that crushed towards Leng Ying. Divine Eagle Glory. Leng Ying let out a long cry. Feathers actually grew out of his skin, making the divine eagle he had transformed into even more powerful. The two of them exchanged blows in the void. In an instant, they had exchanged dozens of moves. Frigid Eagle, we're losing. Someone muttered. In the battle between Leng Ying and Lu Ming, Leng Ying was at a disadvantage from the beginning to the end. He was being suppressed by Lu Ming. Defeat was a matter of time, and it would be very soon. As expected, Leng Ying barely managed to exchange a few dozen moves with Lu Ming before he was struck by Lu Ming's spear. One of his wings of the divine eagle form crumbled. Icehawk's expression changed drastically, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Break the air, Lu Ming took the opportunity to launch a fierce attack. In an instant, dozens of terrifying spear gleams were aimed at Liang Ying. Each of the spear's gleam was equivalent to the power of Lu Ming's space-piercing move at full force. If not for the constant supply of divine power from the quantity formula, Lu Ming would not have been able to squander his divine power like this. Boom! 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 After being hit by these spear lights, the divine eagle that Liang Ying had condensed completely collapsed. His body was pierced through by a spear light. The spear light brought his body and landed on the star peak, nailing him to a rock. Liang Ying was not dead. Lu Ming had shown mercy. Otherwise, that shot would have taken his life. As he was new here, Lu Ming did not want to attract too much trouble. Many people were dumbfounded. They didn't expect that Ice Hawk would be defeated, and so miserably at that. On the other hand, many of the senior members had grave looks on their faces. Lu Ming had given them a lot of pressure. Lu Ming waved his hand, and the spear's gleam that was stuck in Liang Ying's body disappeared. Liang Ying landed on the ground, coughing up a mouthful of blood. His injuries were very serious, and he would need at least 10 days to half a month to fully recover. Now, get lost. Lu Ming was indifferent. Just you wait. Liang Ying left a vicious sentence before he staggered down the mountain. Now that he had been defeated and chased out of the courtyard, he was no longer qualified to fly in this area and could only walk on his feet. Lu Ming smiled faintly. He stepped into the courtyard and swept his gaze across it. The courtyard was huge and unique. Lu Ming liked it very much. Qiuyue, stay here with me. Lu Ming walked out and looked at Qiuyue. According to the rules, the owner of the courtyard could invite a few people to stay with him. Yes, young master. Qiuyue smiled. The other new members were all envious. They were envious that Lu Ming could live on Star Peak instead of the smelly land at the foot of the mountain. Brother Wu Ming, Brother Wu Yu, let's stay together. Lu Ming also invited Wu Ming and Wu Yu. The courtyard was huge and had many rooms. It was not a problem for a few more people to live in. We don't need it, we want to fight our way up with our own strength in the future. Wu Ming said with a smile. That's right. We'll only be motivated if we stay below. In fact, there are other geniuses of the Wu family who live above us, but they don't feel any pressure if they come up directly. Wu Yue said. That's good, I'll wait for you guys up there. Lu Ming smiled and did not insist. He knew that Wu Ming and Wu Yu were right. He would only be motivated if he lived below. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2984 Meeting Jin Xing again. Please continue reading on Oxville. Omicron M. Lu Ming, Wu Ming, and Wu Yu chatted for a while. At that moment, in the sky far away, an elder was watching them from afar. It's here, it's finally here. After so many years, it's finally here, ha ha ha. The old man laughed, his body shaking with excitement. After a while, the old man's emotions calmed down. Then, his eyes flickered a few times. He took a step forward and disappeared. Brother Lu, well, take our leave then. Wu Yu and Wu Ming cupped their fists and planned to leave. Kid, it's you. At this moment, an angry roar was heard. Then, a few people stepped on the air and came above Lu Ming and the others. A cold aura spread toward Lu Ming. The Qin family and Jin Xing. Lu Ming swept his gaze and saw a few familiar faces. One of them was Jin Xing, the one who had been defeated by Lu Ming when he went to the Qin Heaven Star Zone. There were a few young men beside Jin Xing. Two of them had a scale between their eyebrows. Lu Ming could tell at a glance that they were from the same family as Qin Wuyo and Qin Wushang. Since these people could fly in the air, it meant that they also lived on this star peak. However, with Jin Xing's cultivation, it was impossible for him to live here. He should be living in someone else's garden. The few of them looked at Lu Ming coldly. Jin Xing, this is the brat who killed my cousin Wuyo? One of the young men with a scale on his forehead said coldly. That's right, it's him. He was the one who killed Qin Wuyo in the Qin Heaven Star domain. Jin Xing pointed at Lu Ming and said. Very good, you dare to kill my Qin family's people, you're courting death. One of the Qin clan's elites said coldly. He took a step forward and landed in front of Lu Ming. His cold aura pressed down on Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming's expression remained unchanged. Kid, I'm going to challenge you to a life-and-death battle. The Qin clan's chosen said. I don't have time, I'm not fighting. Lu Ming rejected him directly. The Qin family's prodigy gave him an unfathomable feeling. To be honest, Lu Ming was not confident. Since he was not confident, why did Lu Ming have to fight? Don't fight? The Qin clan's heaven's favorite was slightly stunned. His eyes revealed killing intent as he said, today, you have to fight even if you don't want to. With that, a powerful aura rose from his body, and a terrifying pressure spread out in all directions. Half-step Divine King Realm. Many people's expressions changed. The Qin clan's genius was a half-step Divine King. Lu Ming's expression turned serious. Lu Ming was not afraid of ordinary half-step Divine Kings. He could easily crush them, such as the 9 great demon masters of the demon capital mountain. However, the man before him was clearly not an ordinary half-step Divine King. He was a peerless heaven's favorite who had mastered the divine-grade divine power. His combat strength was not something that ordinary people could compare to. If the other party was close to awakening the divine power factor, their combat strength would be even more shocking. Even if Lu Ming went all out, he might not be a match for them. However, if he really had to fight, Lu Ming was not afraid. At most, he would fight with all his might. If it was a life-and-death battle, Lu Ming could burn his ancient god heart and kill the other party. Lu Ming's body was also filled with a strong fighting spirit. Wait a moment. At this moment, Wu Ming called out. You, have something to say? The Qin clan's heaven's pride expert looked at Wu Ming coldly. I remember there's a rule in the Star Sky camp. If a new member successfully challenges an old member of Star Peak and takes away the other party's courtyard, they will have a 50-year protection period. Within these 50 years, they can refuse the challenge of others. Wu Ming said. That's right, there is indeed such a rule, indeed, this is to protect the new members. Some people also started to discuss. Although it was very difficult for new members to challenge the geniuses living on Star Peak, however, there would always be some terrifying talents among the new members. It was still possible to succeed, such as Lu Ming this time. That was why this rule was made to protect the new members. The Qin clan's elites, Jin Xing, and the others also remembered, and their faces darkened. Oh. If there's such a rule, then hurry up and get lost. If you want to fight me, come back 50 years later. Lu Ming waved his hands casually, as if he was dismissing a beggar. Detestable. The Qin clan's paragon roared in his heart. He really wanted to slap Lu Ming to death. Unfortunately, he could not go against the rules of the universal camp. Brat, if you have the guts, then accept my challenge. Don't be a tortoise. The Qin family's paragon shouted coldly, hoping to use the law to provoke Lu Ming into accepting the challenge. However, Lu Ming would not fall for such a low-level goading. Alright, if you suppress your cultivation to the same level as mine, I'll accept your challenge. Lu Ming smiled. The Qin clan's chosen fell silent. What a joke, suppressed to the same level as Lu Ming. Didn't they see how Lu Ming, a fourth-level celestial deity, defeated Ice Hawk? If he was at the same level as Lu Ming, he would be courting death. What's wrong? Do you dare to? If you don't dare, then don't talk nonsense here. You only know how to use your cultivation level to suppress others. What kind of heaven's favorite are you? You're more like trash. Lu Ming shouted coldly. You, the Qin clan's paragon, almost vomited blood in anger. He wanted to insult Lu Ming but he could not. Instead, he was insulted. You what? If you don't dare, then get lost and don't disturb my cultivation. Lu Ming said in disdain. Lu Ming, you're so bold. At this moment, Jin Xing roared. Lu Ming looked at Jin Xing in surprise. Lu Ming, you're from the Qin Heaven Starfield. The people from the Qin Heaven Starfield have stolen the 9 Absolute God Crystal, the treasure of the 9 Absolute Heavenly King Mansion, and are now atoning for their crime. Do you have any ulterior motives? Jin Xing roared, his eyes flashing with a cunning light. A person from the Qin Heaven Starfield. I didn't expect that he's from the Qin Heaven Starfield. The people of the Qin Heaven Starfield are indeed guilty of their crimes now. When many people heard that Lu Ming was from the Qin Heaven Star Zone, they looked at him with hostility. The 9 Absolute Heavenly King Manor's treasure had been stolen, and the target was the Qin Heaven Starfield. Now, although they had given the Qin Heaven Star Zone 1,000 years, the people of the Qin Heaven Star Zone were all suspects. Lu Ming, you actually joined the Universal Camp in secret. You must have an ulterior motive. Tell me, did you steal the treasures of the 9 Absolute Heavenly King Mansion? Jin Xing shouted coldly, directly pinning a huge hat on Lu Ming. Your words are like farts. Do you think that with my cultivation, I can steal treasures from the 9 Absolute Heavenly King Mansion? Lu Ming's expression was calm as he replied indifferently. Isn't that simple? There's definitely a mole of yours in the 9 Absolute Heavenly King Mansion. Jin Xing's eyes turned and fell on Wu Ming and Wu Yu. He sneered and said, I suspect that the Wu family is your spy and helped you steal the 9 Absolute God Crystal. As soon as he said that, Wu Ming and Wu Yu's expressions changed. Jin Xing's words were despicable. This was to bring the Wu family to its doom. Jin Xing, you're F***king bullshitting. You have to have evidence. If you have the ability, show me the evidence. Wu Ming and Wu Yu roared. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2984 Origin Secret Technique. Please continue reading on Oxville. Omicron M. Jin Xing actually slandered Lu Ming for colluding with the Wu family and stealing the 9 Absolute Divine Crystal. This was a serious crime. Wu Yu and Wu Ming immediately shouted and asked Jin Xing to show evidence. There's no need for evidence. The truth is right in front of you. What evidence do you need? Jin Xing sneered and continued to accuse. Hee, you want to convict someone with just your mouth? How ridiculous is that? Lu Ming said. He looked at Jin Xing in disdain and smiled evilly. Since you insist that I stole the treasure, then fine, I admit that it was the Jin and Qin families who ordered me to do it. The Jin and Qin families wanted to rebel against their superiors. Hearing this, the heaven's favorites from the Jin and Qin families were shocked. Bullshit, you're bullshitting. You're full of nonsense. I don't believe a single word you say. Jin Xing, Qin Tian's heaven's chosen, roared. Oh. If you can open your mouth and say it, why can't I? Since you're suspicious of me stealing the treasure, then I'll expose you for colluding with me. What's suspicious about that? That's normal. Otherwise, how can I steal the treasure? Lu Ming said indifferently. You. Lu Ming. Damn it, Jin Xing roared angrily, but he could not find any words to refute Lu Ming. If he were to continue to slander Lu Ming for coming to the Star Sky Camp with ill intentions and for him to be related to the 9 absolute divine crystal being stolen, Lu Ming would insist that the Jin family in Qin Tian were their helpers. There was no evidence anyway, so he could just rely on his mouth. Jin Xing's face turned green and white. In the end, he didn't dare to say anything. The 9 Absolute Heavenly King Manor was not just one aristocratic family, but there were many ancient aristocratic families. These aristocratic families worked together under the 9 Absolute Heavenly King residence, but they were in a competitive relationship and attacked each other. He was afraid that if they continued to suppress Lu Ming, he would say whatever he wanted. It would not be good if the enemy families had a handle on him and attacked him. Lu Ming, you can continue hiding. Let's see how long you can hide. This place can only be protected for a total of 50 years. Jin Xing snorted. You talk too much nonsense. Come. Let's fight at the same level. If you don't fight, you're a bastard. Lu Ming raised his middle finger and beckoned. Humph. The heavens' favorites from the Jin and Qin families snorted and turned to leave. Brother Lu, you still have to be careful in the future. The Jin family and Qin family are very powerful in the 9 Absolute Heavenly King Mansion. Wu Ming warned. Don't worry. Lu Ming smiled. After that, Wu Ming and Wu Yu bade their farewells and left. Lu Ming and Xiao Yu entered the courtyard and closed the door. The courtyard was huge. It had a courtyard, a pavilion, and 7 to 8 rooms. The 2 of them each chose a room. Lu Ming walked into the room and sat cross-legged. He could feel a strange fluctuation coming from the top of the star peak. This wave could clear one's mind and soul, speeding up the comprehension of divine skills and secret skills. However, Lu Ming was not in the mood to comprehend the divine skills and secret skills. He was thinking about the origin divine power factor. There should be a library in the universal camp. There should also be a place to buy divine techniques. Let's go and look. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He then got up and left the room. He soared into the sky and watched from afar. On Star Peak, other than many courtyards, there were also many magnificent palaces. From afar, Lu Ming saw a palace with people coming in and out. It was quite lively, so Lu Ming flew towards it. After arriving here, he discovered that this place was a market city. People came and went, and it was very lively. Lu Ming immediately bought a map of the space camp. On the map, some of the important places in the area of the Star Sky Camp were marked. There's indeed a scripture hall. Let's go take a look. Lu Ming flew over according to the marks on the map. Soon, Lu Ming saw a magnificent palace. Above the door, there were 3 large word sutra library. There was a white-haired old man standing guard at the gate. You can stay on the first floor and read freely. You can only buy anything on the 2nd floor and above. The old man said indifferently. Many thanks, senior. Lu Ming cupped his fists and walked in. The 1st floor was extremely spacious, and with a single glance, it was filled with books and ancient records. Lu Ming flipped through the books casually and realized that the books on the 1st floor were not secret manuals of divine techniques or divine skills. Instead, they were some miscellaneous books. For example, there were books that recorded all sorts of desolate beasts, all sorts of strange stories, introductions to the customs and practices of different star fields, as well as the history of the Great Void Holy Dynasty. No wonder he could flip through it so casually. Lu Ming swept a glance over. Godly Power Biography. Suddenly, a book caught Lu Ming's attention. Immediately, Lu Ming started to flip through the book. The first section introduced the basic knowledge of divine power. Lu Ming knew everything and skipped through it. After that, he began to introduce the origin divine power factor. Most of them were similar to what Wu Ming and Wu Yu had said. However, it was more detailed here. As one's comprehension and application of divine-grade divine power deepened, one could awaken the origin divine power factor when they reached a certain level. However, before awakening the origin divine power factor, there was a process called the degree of awakening. For example, Leng Ying and the others who lived on the mountainside of Star Peak had entered this stage and were not far from awakening. Of course, there was still a gap between this stage and awakening. Some people's degree of awakening was 10%, while some people's degree of awakening was 20%. Only when the degree of awakening reached 100% could the origin divine power factor be considered to be truly awakened. The higher the degree of awakening, the more powerful the divine power would be. I wonder what Frigid Eagle's awakening level is. According to this record, it should be below 50%. Lu Ming pondered, but he thought of himself. He probably hasn't even awakened 10% of the ruler's divine power. As for the inextinguishable sword force, it was even worse. It seems that I have to spend more time on Shen power in the future. Lu Ming pondered and continued to read. The more he read, the more he sighed. It turned out that after he had awakened the original divine power, it was just the beginning. He had just awakened the seed. He was still far from the divine power that the primitive gods in the incipient god realm had. The origin divine power factor that had just been awakened was only at the first stage. In the future, he could still awaken for the second time, and the third time, after the second awakening, he would reach the second tier of the divine power factor. After the third awakening, he would reach the third tier of the divine power factor. Every awakening was extremely difficult, 1 in a million. After each awakening, the divine power would transform and become stronger. It could even give birth to Origin's secret skills. Every time it was awakened, the Origin's secret skill that was born might be different. It might be more powerful than ordinary secret skills and mysterious. No one knew how many times the divine power factor could be awakened. Legend had it that the highest number of times a person could awaken was 9. By then, the divine power had already transformed into a terrifying power. It was definitely equivalent to the true origin divine power and had boundless power. Anyone who could do that was a true peak existence in the primeval universe, a figure who dominated the universe. A Shen power actually has so many mysteries. It has endless potential. Lu Ming sighed. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know a report so we can fix it as soon as possible. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.